All right, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order with a roll call from our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record shall reflect that all members are present.
Our city attorney, Walter Chung, will bring us out of closed session.
The City Council took no reportable action in closed session this afternoon.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Please rise. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our city clerk, Kathy Valdez, has some procedural items to cover.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. I would like to remind everyone that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. The ordinance was adopted to allow for public input and facilitate city business without disruption of the meeting. Applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation portion of the agenda only. Students wishing to receive credit for attending this evening's meeting must stay for a minimum of 1 hour. However, we ask that you stay for the completion of an item rather than leaving in the middle of a discussion. When you're ready to leave, you may ask one of the staff members at the back of the room to sign your paper. Thank you.
And we'll go to our city manager, John Conley, for the approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes to this evening's agenda.
Okay, and that's going to bring us to our presentations. We have 3 presentations this evening. I'd like to invite my fellow council members to join me at the lectern. All right, our first presentation is one declaring the second week in October 2025 as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week in the City of Vista. And I'd like to invite our Code Enforcement Manager, Clarence Rich, to come forward to receive this proclamation. Well, I just got to start by saying that our code enforcement officers have a difficult job. They're often there to deliver unpleasant news that something is not right. But the work that you and all of your fellow code enforcement officers do, Mr. Rich, is invaluable because it keeps our city looking beautiful and keeps everybody following the rules, which is just a very tough job. So this is very fitting that we honor you for one of the more difficult jobs here at City Hall. So whereas our code enforcement officers play a vital role in safeguarding the safety, health, and welfare of the residents of Vista by enforcing local and state laws, ordinances concerning building, zoning, housing, environmental concerns, and public safety, whereas these officers work tirelessly to improve the quality of life in Vista by upholding community standards in a fair and impartial manner, frequently collaborating with the San Diego County Sheriff's Office and other city departments, whereas the city code enforcement officers have a prominent role within our city, regularly engaging with the public, not only as officers, but also as community liaisons who educate and involve residents. And I just say thank you, because education is what our code enforcement officers are great at. And Mr. Rich always promises me that nobody ever got a fine who first got a notice of violation and worked with his staff to rectify it. And that has been the direction of this council and Mr. Rich and our city manager, John Conley. If you're not in compliance, but you come into compliance, you're not going to get fined. We don't want to fine anybody. We want everybody to come into compliance voluntarily. Very important. but as community liaisons who educate and involve residents in maintaining the standards that keep the city safe, welcoming, and thriving. Whereas the Vista City Council recognizes the steadfast commitment, professionalism, and significant contributions of our code enforcement officers, now therefore I, as the mayor and the members of the Vista City Council, formally recognize the important contributions of code enforcement officers in enhancing the quality of life for all of the residents and all of the employees of the city of Vista. We hereby proclaim the second week of October 2025 as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week in the city of Vista and urge all of our residents to honor the dedication and continued service of our esteemed code enforcement officers. Will you take a picture with us? Sure. All right. Yes. Oh, a double wave? I can't jump very high. You gotta stay for those together. Great job. Thank you. Okay, our next item is in recognition of the Guerreras in Acción por un Vista Limpio participants. And our letter reads, this letter of appreciation is for your outstanding 6-year commitment to weekly litter abatement in the Townsite District 1 community. Your volunteer-based action has improved the public health of our community by removing thousands of pounds of trash from our streets and waterways. These selfless actions truly foster community and help build strong relationships with others in the city. Together, Guerreras show us how to be more resilient and sustainable. Our community would not be the same without your weekly dedication to a clean and healthy environment. The City of Vista thanks you for your volunteerism. Carta de agradecimiento. Esta carta de agradecimiento reconoce su excepcional compromiso de 6 años con la reducción semanal de basura en la comunidad de Townsite y el Distrito 1. Su trabajo voluntario ha mejorado la salud pública de nuestra comunidad al retirar miles de libras de basura de nuestras calles y vías fluviales. Estas acciones altruistas fomentan la comunidad y ayudan a construir relaciones sólidas con otros habitantes de la ciudad. Juntos, guerreros nos muestran cómo ser más resilientes y sostenibles. Nuestra comunidad no sería la misma sin su dedicación semanal a un medio ambiente limpio y saludable. La ciudad de Vista les agradece su voluntariado. Thank you very much. And would all of our guerreros come forward, please? Is Jovita with us? Where's Jovita? Come on down. Come on, all of our guerreros, please. Well, we have a list. Yes, thank you. Do I have the list? Oh, wait a second. Maybe that's on the next page. Thank you. Yes, here we go. Okay. We have our founder and leader, Jovita Serafin. We have Michelle Veloz, Obdulia Diaz, Ruben Diaz, Sebastian Diaz, Logan Flores, Maria Sierra de Martinez, Brandon Suarez, Erlinda Serafin, Magali Sosa, Rosa Elvira Diaz, Marlene Zamora, Ramiro Diaz, Valeria Lopez, Zahir Noe Lopez, Beatriz Hidalgo Santiago, Jorge Lopez, Catelea Perez Salinas, Caitlin Perez Salinas, and Santiago Sanchez. Let's give them all a round of applause. Good job. Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. He said wait, tell the people what you said.
I like to clean up.
Very good. Thank you. I love that. All right. What a wonderful group of volunteers for our community.
This is my second time.
Very good. Thank you. It's his second time.
Mayor, is it okay if, would you want to say
Yes.
any words? ¿Quieres hablar? ¿Por el grupo? Okay.
Por favor.
Gracias por los reconocimientos que nos dieron a mí, que soy la fundadora y líder del grupo, y al grupo en general, mis compañeras, los niños que están dispuestos en las vacaciones a caminar con nosotros, a recorrer las calles y recoger basura. Les hacemos una invitación para que nos acompañen los miércoles de 9 a 11 de la mañana. También damos horas comunitarias a los muchachos de las escuelas. Gracias.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to translate what Jovita Serafin said. So they've been doing this for 6 years, and over summer especially, a lot of the youth join, and you'll see family pickups. And she invites everybody. They do this every single Wednesday. So if you need to get in contact with her, you can find her on Instagram. We can always get you her cell number. She's constantly talking to folks in the community, and she invites you to participate. And also, for any youth who are looking for community service hours, this is a way that you can do it as well. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. You come up front. You're a rising star, I can tell. Tell them what you said.
You are the best mayor ever.
Oh, thank you. You're my favorite. You paid him to say that. Let's see here. Okay, our final proclamation is one declaring October 17th, 18th, and 19th. By the way, if you have a $1 bill in your pocket, I promise you're going to want to get it out right now. Final proclamation declaring October 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2025 as Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive Days in the city of Vista. And I would like to invite the following representatives of the Knights of Columbus and Downstown to come forward and receive this proclamation. Roger Rowe, Keisha Stinnett, Javier Cruz, Laura Hallett, Michelle Height, Susie Ream. Please come on down. Okay. Would you do me a favor? Would you mind showing this off for everybody? Thank you. Okay. Whereas the Knights of Columbus will hold their 38th annual Tootsie Roll Drive Days on October 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2025, and whereas over 700 councils of the Knights of Columbus in California will conduct their annual candy drive in communities across the state to raise funds for intellectually disabled children and adults in California, whereas all money collected locally will be donated to Downstown, a nonprofit organization with residential homes in North County for adults with developmental disabilities such as Down syndrome, whereas intellectually disabled individuals are valuable and productive members of our society. The funds raised through this candy drive will aid Downstown in promoting the ongoing independence of these individuals, whereas the City of Vista expresses its heartfelt gratitude and endorsement for all participants in this candy drive, recognizing their commendable efforts to assist those in need. Now, therefore, I, as the mayor of the City of Vista and the City Council, do hereby proclaim October 17, 18, and 19, 2025 as Knights of Columbus Tootsie Roll Drive Days in the City of Vista. And we encourage all residents to participate in this significant fundraising initiative aimed at assisting intellectually disabled children and adults in Vista and across California. And now, we're going to take a little picture, but if you have a $1 or a $5 bill and you'd be willing to come and buy a Tootsie Roll, it'll be the best Tootsie Roll you'll ever buy and you'll feel great about it. So come on down. I'm going to get us started, okay? Give him the 50. There you go. I don't have any small bills, so you don't get knocked out. We got it. For a good price. Thank you very much. Can I have one? I'm going to give these to my little friends in the back there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Awesome. Okay.
I only make 10% of what you make, so.
I only get paid $80 for a month. So I'll tell you that. Okay. Let's see. Where is my friend? I got something for you. Come on down this way.
Thank you. Thank you. Great job.
Will you take a photo with us? Did everybody get to buy a Tootsie Roll? Can we take a picture with you? Okay, come on this way. Thank you very much. All right. Here we go. All right. All right. Stand right here and take a picture. All right, this way. Come right on up here. All right. Okay, everybody, get nice and tight. Let's get a nice picture.
I had a year where I didn't bring it.
Okay, did everybody get their Tootsie Rolls? Thank you, everybody, for participating and helping out Downstown and the Knights of Columbus. Give them one more round of applause. All right. That is going to bring us to our oral communications opportunity. If there are any members of the public that would like to address the council on agency-related matters that are not on the agenda, they may do so at this time by requesting to speak. If you're participating via Zoom, you may use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone if you'd like to speak. The number of speakers heard during this segment is limited to 10, and the remaining speakers will be heard under the second oral communications item. We do have 3 who have submitted request to speak cards. And we'll start here at the dais. You'll each have 3 minutes with Alejandro Sanchez, and then we'll hear from Joe Hood, and then Isaiah White. And if you heard your name called, would you please come forward and be ready to speak when your turn is called?
City Council members, staff, my name is Alejandro Sanchez. I've been around here in the city for over 25 years now, getting involved in different issues from the city. But tonight, I had to come. I got so compelled to come because at the last meeting, September 23rd, it was a big mess, the council meeting. I never thought that I was going to last so long, but I was not stupid. I left early, 5:30, and I knew that it was going to happen. First, they place this item on the agenda, and they leave it until the end for community concerns. What is that? I requested to city officials to let me know what's going on. What are they going to talk about it? The Hispanics needs to know because there was spread the rumors that the immigration, they doing something about the immigration. I was like, I don't know. I came here and looked up the agenda report. There's nothing about the immigration. Everything, it's just discussions about some issues that they were not important for our city to consider, number one. And number two, it was just a wasting of time. Trying to use Hispanics as a rubber stamps, in my opinion. Truly, Mrs. Contreras can waste this time for something more useful, Perhaps if she wanted to place an item next time on the agenda, we have to demand to the Mexican government now. Hispanics send billions and billions of dollars, and we're never demanding to do anything for our community. So, if you want to place this item again and try to use our funds, I recommend you something. Use your salary and donate it for the cause. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll hear from Joe Hood, followed by Isaiah White. Then we'll hear from Barbara Gordon on Zoom.
Good evening, Council. I have a comment about process from the last session. Number one, let's have for all of our meetings the agenda out front and on the website in Spanish as well as English. It's just not fair to not put it out in Spanish. Number two, if we're going to have a long agenda item and everybody here knew it was going to be a long item, why don't you please change the schedule or the sequence of events and do the long item first? Asking children or elderly people to stay here till 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning is unconscionable. You don't need to do that. So please don't do it. Just change the schedule dynamically. Put the important or long item up front. Let the other things wait until later. Thanks.
Guys, if you would, please. And I apologize, but I got to ask you all to hold your applause for the duration of the meeting. Our ordinances require that now that we're outside of the proclamation portion. Next, we'll hear from Isaiah White.
Sorry, I'm just. Good evening, everyone. My name is Isaiah White. First and foremost, I am a son of God. Secondly, I am a constitutional conservative. And thirdly, I am running for Assembly District 76 of the state of California. To introduce myself a little bit more, I've lived in California for most of my life. Growing up, believe this is the best state, one with the most economic development, one with the most prosperity I've ever seen, one with the most potential for growth, a lot of community, a lot of freedom, a lot of friendship, a lot of growth. There have been several issues that I have seen this state create that need to be addressed. And as far as create goes, I'm talking about the rise of cost of living, the rise of regulations, bureaucracy, and the lack of funding for necessary services. My role as State Assembly is going to be to uphold some of these three values: prosperity, community, and freedom. Now, I will take any questions or any concerns after this meeting as to respect the City Council. And thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Okay, now we're going to go to Zoom. We'll hear from Barbara Gordon.
Good evening, City Council. I want to recognize October as Substance Use Prevention Month. Increasing public awareness of the dangers of substance use and its effect on communities is vital. This month provides an opportunity to remember the value of prevention. Preventing substance use like vaping or marijuana before it starts is a crucial part of a comprehensive approach to addressing our addiction crisis. Substance use trends in the U.S. have changed in recent years, especially with the landscape of marijuana, which is the most common substance among our 12 to 15-year-olds being treated for a substance use abuse disorder, whether you're outpatient or inpatient. National Survey on Drug Use and Health data in 2024 saw 20.1 million cases of marijuana use disorder, vastly more than opiates, cocaine, or meth. In 2024, ER visits linked to marijuana surpassed those driven by opiates, and those related only to marijuana use rose from 37% in 2021 to 58% in 2024. Marijuana use has played a significant role in the overall substance abuse in America. Cities must not prioritize the marijuana businesses while ignoring the risk factors. We must do more to enact protective factors that buffer and educate young people about the harms of substance use and abuse. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Now we will hear from Madison Rapp, followed by Becky Rapp.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Vista City Council. My name is Madison, and I wanted to reach out to the city about the upcoming Red Ribbon Week, which takes place from October 23rd to 31st. Red Ribbon Week is the nation's largest and longest running drug prevention campaign. Across our region, schools, families, and community partners work together during this time to promote healthy, drug-free lifestyles and resilience in young people. This year's theme, Life is a Puzzle, Solve It Drug-Free, encourages youth to prioritize mental wellness and make positive choices, even when faced with pressure or easy access to harmful substances. And that access is a growing concern right here in our community. As marijuana storefronts expand across North County, studies show that youth living near dispensaries are more likely to perceive marijuana as harmless and to experiment at younger ages. These storefronts often use bright signage, product names, and marketing that attract teens, even if unintentionally. The CDC and the National Institutes of Health both warn that marijuana use during adolescence can affect brain development, learning, memory, and mental health. That's why prevention and strong leadership from this council matters so much. When you support school-based prevention, limit youth exposure to marijuana marketing, and promote campaigns like Red Ribbon Week, you're helping to shape a healthier, safer Vista for the next generation. Thank you for your time and your commitment to protecting the well-being of our youth.
Next, we'll hear from Becky Rapp, followed by the caller with the phone number ending in 1822.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Becky Rapp, and I'm a concerned parent and public health educator, here to bring to your attention the governor's recent signing of Assembly Bill 8. This bill closes loopholes in the Farm Bill by banning intoxicating hemp products, commonly known as Delta 8 and Delta 9 THC, making it illegal for them to be sold in local tobacco retailers, smoke shops, and convenience stores. Not only is this an important step forward in sound public health policies, but it also has land use and neighborhood safety implications that fall under the city's purview. Across Vista, many of these smoke and vape shops are located within near residential neighborhoods, often adjacent to apartment complexes, school, parks, and family-oriented businesses. These are the same areas where we're trying to promote healthy, livable, and safe housing environments. For the past 18 months, California has had an emergency ban on these same intoxicating hemp products, yet enforcement has been nearly non-existent. Many retailers continue to sell these products illegally, often right next to candy, energy drinks, and flavored vapes that attract young people. Now that AB 8 is law, enforcement can no longer be optional. I urge this council to consider the impacts of these retailers operating in and around our neighborhoods. How will the city ensure that smoke and vape shops comply with AB 8 and do not continue selling intoxicating hemp products? I ask that you place this issue on a future agenda and coordinate with the city attorney, code enforcement to ensure our neighborhoods are protected. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the caller with the phone number ending in 1822. Caller ending in phone number 1822. Are you with us?
Yes, hello, and thank you. This is Peggy Walker, and speaking of substance use, a series of media reports this past week revealed the disturbing news that marijuana is linked to nearly 50% of driving deaths. And the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety reported that 53% of marijuana users consume marijuana an hour or less before driving. This is important for those of us living with marijuana businesses in our communities, because the experts repeatedly warned that lack of public awareness around marijuana's dangers behind the wheel is putting lives at risk. An American College of Surgeons study found that 42% of dead drivers testing positive for active THC had an average level far exceeding impairment limits. Science Daily reported that legalization policies clearly have not altered this kind of risky habit, and Psychology Today reported that results like these are expected considering Americans fail to view marijuana impaired driving as risky. Stronger messaging around the dangers of pot and driving was urged. Finally, the Wall Street Journal, addressing pot DUI deaths, asked, how much social and public health damage will we suffer before doing a U-turn on marijuana promotion? An earlier proclamation tonight saluted code enforcement. I urge you to ensure policies, oversight, and enforcement that protects everyone from drivers under the influence of marijuana who are contributing to more highway accident deaths. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Matthew Mahon. Matthew Mahon, or Mahon?
Yes, good evening, council members. I come before you today to sound the alarm on a growing threat to our community, a menace that is quietly destroying lives, clogging arteries, and eroding our moral fiber. I'm talking, of course, about cheeseburgers. Now, I know some people will say, but cheeseburgers are legal, or it's my right to enjoy one. But isn't that exactly what they said about other harmful substances? We've normalized cheeseburgers to the point that we have entire restaurants devoted to peddling them to our children. We have drive-thrus designed for instant gratification, a cheeseburger in under 2 minutes. Studies that I may or may not have just made up show that after eating one cheeseburger, most people experience feelings of euphoria and satisfaction, and a danger desire for fries. The long-term effects include nap-taking, guilt, and the sudden realization that lettuce does not, in fact, make it healthy. Yet, Big Burger continues to operate unchecked in our city, wrapping its products in bright paper and false promises. So tonight, I urge this council to take bold action. Let us not stand by idly while the scourge melts our resolve like American cheese on a sesame seed bun. It's time for common sense burger control, for the children, for our arteries, and for the sanctity of the salad. Thank you.
All right, with that, we will conclude the opportunity for oral communications at this meeting. That will bring us to our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary or by using the raise your hand feature on Zoom or by pressing *9. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. We have 6 consent items this evening, and Jim Kelly, member of the public, has pulled item C5, so we will vote on that separately. Are there any other items to be pulled? I will offer a motion, seeing none. Oh, wait a second, Councilmember Fox.
Just motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar.
I will second that. Seeing no other requests to speak, please cast your votes. I assume that the motion carried unanimously? Okay, the motion was approved unanimously. You know, by law, I have to announce the vote. So if I can't see it, I have to ask. Okay, then we will now go to item C5, which is the First Amendment to the San Diego Rescue Mission Agreement for Citywide Homeless Outreach Services. Mr. Jim Kelly.
City Council, I'd like to indicate that I'm not in favor or not against, it's just information only. I've reviewed a number of items of the city's past agenda items on the homeless subject. I've also reviewed the city's expectations, scope of services in their RFP, and the San Diego Rescue Mission's response of those items that they were going to do to fulfill the city's requirements. The city is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on tracking homeless and millions of dollars on facilities and operations of these facilities. Additionally, I believe the San Diego Rescue Missions facility has a 30-day turnover requirement. I think that many have determined that you cannot solve a person's homelessness in 30 days. It requires significantly more time. Nowhere do I see the San Diego Rescue Mission fulfilling the city's requirements or even their own reporting requirements. I'm not saying that they're not doing it, I'm just saying you can't find it. Other than minor demographics that were on the report. So if you're going to continue to renew the contract, the City Council should be reviewing these required reports that the contract requires and the San Diego Rescue Mission's own reporting requirements. Otherwise, we have money just being spent on a revolving door of homelessness in Vista. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll just call out some of the things that are required to be reported: the number of unduplicated individuals being served, exits from street homelessness, exits to permanent housing, individuals maintaining housing after 12 months of housing placement. And at this point, the rescue mission, when are we at 12 months? Was that October? Are we at 12 months now?
12 months now.
Yeah, okay, so this is 12 months. All right, so we should begin to receive that reporting. That's 12 months of engagement contractually with the rescue mission. Number of people served through the shower trailer events, types of service interactions, progress on the by name list, success stories, and community engagement activities. And I would just commend all of you to take a look at the homelessness committee because the deputy mayor is the chair of that committee, and myself have received those data that were indicated. We had this council gave direction for a by name list to previous provider, and that provider was never able to produce it. And this is the first time that we've had a by name list, and we've got detailed notes on every person that we've had an outreach conversation with, which is really a step forward. And without getting into a long dissertation on the 30-day issue, we have 85 individuals right now who are on a waiting list to get into a shelter here in Vista. And one of the things that we committed was that we would have a shelter bed when somebody wanted one. And while I totally agree 30 days is not enough to solve everybody's condition of homelessness, there's a model there that says if you can succeed during that 30-day period of time, that you could be moved to a one-year program, which is called the Mission Academy. And so they're really looking for individuals who genuinely want to change their life and to be permanently housed. For some individuals, we can help them with permanent housing at the end of that 30-day period of time. Some take longer. But for individuals who demonstrate a willingness to begin to take steps that are asked of them, the Rescue Mission does have a 12-month program to provide housing for those individuals to help them with that. So for that reason, at this time, I have full confidence in the Rescue Mission, and I think but I will, I'll follow up, and we'll discuss any other data that you'd like to see or that the council would like to see. But I think we're in a better place right now with this data and the reporting and transparency, even than we have been in the past. So I'm encouraged by that. So I would make a motion to adopt staff's recommendation on item C5. Councilmember Fox?
A second.
Okay. We have a motion, a second. I see no other requests to speak. Please cast your votes. Deputy Mayor, did you want to speak on that?
Yes, I'll just concur that we do receive robust data at our standing committee meetings. And so I would encourage everyone to tune into those as well.
And where can folks find the full report? They can go to, hopefully we've got them linked, and if they're not, I'm going to commit staff to do it at vista.gov/homelessness, which is a website, a page in our website that we set up just to inform the community of what we've done on homelessness. And hopefully those reports will be available with only 1 or 2 clicks on that page. I got a high sign from Mr. Long, our homeless program manager, and and his colleagues back there, so thank you for that. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Do we need to reboot our voting system?
Well, it shows down there. Everyone can see. I can tell you here what it shows, but it'll
Okay.
show on your nameplates when you do it.
All right. It's not asking us for our votes yet.
Oh, it's just waiting for you.
Waiting for me to do what?
There's no vote showing.
Maybe we need to, there we go. If all else fails, turn it off and turn it back on. That's what I recommend. We haven't got our money's worth out of these yet. Okay, the motion is approved with 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
We can't work the vote buttons, but the presentations will work.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Are the display monitors going to work for the council? Okay, that's fine. Okay, we have 2 public hearings this evening. The first is regarding the Mar Vista specific plan adoption for P24-0354. The public hearing is now open. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature on Zoom by pressing *9 on their phone or submitting a request to speak card here in person at the dais. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Community Development Director, Joe Vaca, will introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor Franklin. Good evening, and members of the City Council. So this area known as Mar Vista, the neighborhood, was previously annexed through the LAFCO process in 2022. Since that time, the planning staff has been working and collaborating with the community through an extensive community engagement process to create a specific plan to maintain and preserve the rural character of this community, to mirror the previous development standards that the community enjoyed under the county, and incorporate that into our local ordinance through the specific plan tool. So Rafi Magnassarian, our previous associate planner, did a significant amount of work on this and did a great job. And now Patsy Chow, our assistant director, will present the item to you for adoption this evening.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, Mayor Franklin, council members. Patsy Chow, I'm the Assistant Director, Community Development Department. I'm pleased to be here this evening to present to you the first public hearing item concerning the Mar Vista specific plan. It's project number 240354. So the Mar Vista area is basically encompassing a total area of 143 acres, 108 parcels, generally located south of Mar Vista Drive, east of Buena Vista, north of Lupine Hills, and west of State Route 78. Some of the streets included in the Mar Vista area include Mar Vista, Miramar, Marineville Drive, Park Hill, Auburn Woods, and Red Plum Lane. So as you can see on this photo, this slide, the area delineated in red, it's the Mar Vista area for the specific plan. It's mainly predominantly residential, single-family houses and characterized by hillsides and rolling hills. So just to give you a little bit of background where we've been, back to June of 2021, Vista City Council adopted the resolution making an application to LAFCO, the Local Agency Information Commission, for the annexation of the Mar Vista Island area. In November 2022, LAFCO adopted the resolution approving the reorganization of the Mar Vista area and also the detachment of Buena Sanitation District and the Vista Fire Protection District in that action. Later, in April of 2023, the Mar Vista area and reorganization, annexation to City of Vista with the detachments of Buena Sanitation and Vista Fire Protection District was recorded at the San Diego County Recorder's Office. There's been some questions in the recent past about when the annexation took place. So in fact, April 11, 2023 is the effective date of the jurisdictional change, because there's been so many dates in the past, so I just wanted to clear that for the record, that is the effective legal date. As part of the action from LAFCO, there are several conditions in that decision, one of which was that the City of Vista would prepare and adopt a specific plan for the Mar Vista area. So bringing us to today. All right, so in terms of the adoption for the specific plan, it addresses several points. The principal one, the main one, and I put it on top, is that it helps maintain the existing single-family residential uses within the area, as well as all the other existing agricultural uses and existing animal uses, land uses within the particular neighborhood. And how we do that is that there are development standards within the specific plan that actually remain consistent with what the County of San Diego had before the annexation into Vista. The County of San Diego identified this area as zoned as A70, which was an agriculture zone. And we're keeping the same thing when it got annexed. It was actually annexed with the zone of A1. The density is remaining at 1 dwelling unit per acre, hence the lot size is at 1 acre. The general plan land use designation of rural residential will remain unchanged. The one thing that it will change in the general plan, it's the land use and community identity element, figure 2, which does need to be amended in order to identify the specific Mar Vista specific plan, which I'll have a depiction, a picture later on to show you that. And the zone change will actually go from agricultural A1, which is currently as it was when it was annexed into the city, and it will change to specific planning implementation only because we need to make it consistent with the Mar Vista specific plan. So a specific plan carries the SPI, or the specific plan implementation, as its companion zoning designation. Summary here as to why and the purpose for the Mar Vista specific plan. A goal here, number one, is the important one that we told all the residents, property owners within that area, is that we want to maintain the rural setting that is experienced by the property owners within the Mar Vista area, as they enjoyed all of the benefits of that under the County of San Diego jurisdiction prior to the annexation. And again, how we do that and maintain that rural setting is by implementing similar development standards that are when they were under the county's jurisdiction. And kind of similarly bring in the land uses that were similar when it was under the governed by the county. So these the development standards, the zoning standards in the specific planning document basically mirror and mimic prior standards from the county. And as I said before, the zone under the county was A70 prior to annexation. When it got annexed into the city was A1, which is also agriculture. And now we're transitioning that seamlessly to a proposed SPI under the specific plan. As far as public outreach efforts, we had an extensive effort, which basically started with sending notices out to the community members, identifying the fact that we were in preparation mode of a specific plan document. And we held an in-person meeting on December the 11th here in this very same room. We actually were able to meet with all the residents, property owners that attended that meeting to answer any questions that they had about the specific plan. We also created a web page for Mar Vista specific plan, posted to the city's website with all the Q&As from the community meeting. We've uploaded the presentation slides, the video of the meeting in case those that were not able to attend live, they would be able to watch it on the website and understand exactly what was going on with the creation of the specific plan. So the minutes were there, also uploaded, and I also made sure to put in the draft Mar Vista specific plan, the latest version anyways. It is on the city's website, along with updates as far as hearing dates, planning commission, city council, and so on. So the Planning Commission actually considered this item on March 18th. They unanimously approved, recommended for approval, I should say, of the NEGDEC, which is the level of document review under CEQA for environmental review purposes. And they also recommended approval of the Mar Vista specific plan. As I mentioned before, the designation in the general plan as rural residential remains unchanged. The change to the Lucy 2 figure, as I mentioned before, basically depicting that area as just a citywide A1. Now it's going to be contained within that purple area or that grape color, which is the Mar Vista specific planning area as proposed Lucy 2 figure. The zone is changing from A1 agriculture to SPI as proposed. And one thing I wanted to clarify is about Cannon Road. So the city does not intend to extend Cannon Road through to the Mar Vista specific planning area as depicted on the slide. In terms of other circulation element streets, as far as semi-rural streets within Mar Vista, as well as local streets that are public streets or private streets, they are to remain as they currently exist. That was a concern that was raised during the community meeting because residents obviously are concerned about whether their roads are going to get enlarged, improvements, breaks, or changing sidewalks or adding sidewalks and so on. So per the Mar Vista specific plan, everything is staying as they are. I'd like to make a correction, actually, if I could, with regards to Hillcrest Drive, which was actually inadvertently left out of page 16 in the specific plan. So I just wanted to bring it up as an attention item. Should the council move forward with adopting the Mar Vista specific plan, I respectfully ask if that correction can be included in the motion from the council tonight. In terms of sewer, the adoption of the specific plan will not require property owners to connect to sewer. And of course, if there is a desire from a property owner to find out if they can connect, city staff obviously will assist and help out in terms of how to get connected to sewer. But again, there is no expectations as far as when and if the adoption of the specific plan happens tonight, that it will not require property owners to connect to sewer. So what are the permitted uses that are in the specific plan? So there are some permitted uses by right, such as single-family dwelling, accessory buildings, home occupations obviously will be allowed, greenhouses, etc. But there are other uses that will still require a use permit, and only because a special use permit and a minor use permit will allow for the staff to actually consider certain uses that may require special conditions or considerations beyond what's permitted by right, such as a residential care home. If it's more than 6 persons, normally in our code citywide, it requires a special use permit. So we're carrying the same idea here. With the minor use permit, for instance, aviaries or kennels would trigger the minor use permit. Only because, again, if there are special considerations that we need to take into account, that use permit would allow us to do that through a hearing process. I'll talk a little bit about the development standards in the next slide, but I also just wanted to mention that the landscaping will follow the landscapes manual as far as erosion control, slope treatments, BMPs, and so on. So that's all gonna follow in accordance with what the manual currently says. In terms of the development standards, just noting here, it pretty much mimics the A1 zone requirements, again, which was what the zone when it got annexed into the city. But because of the SPI, the specific plan, we're carrying it seamlessly, the lot size, for instance, being 1 acre, 1 dwelling unit per acre, and then the setbacks pretty much is what we find in the A1 zone requirements, so nothing new there. And then in terms of other requirements, for instance, such as fences and walls and lighting, we have references to specific chapters in the specific plan that deal specifically with these particular requirements. I wanted to cover this from the community meeting because I thought it would be important to actually give you the range of topics that was discussed during that meeting that raised questions. And I will just quickly summarize the main topics from density, which was, again, to help maintain the rural setting and maintaining the existing density. So that was a very important factor to bring that up and to emphasize that. And we clarified, obviously, that the annexation has already occurred. What we consider in the specific plan is a result of the annexation as a condition of LAFCO's approval, as mentioned before, but the annexation effectively took place back in April of 2023. In terms of sewer, there was a detachment from Buena Sanitation District, and now it is being served by City of Vista Sanitation. There was some concerns about accessory structures not being allowed to be within required setback areas, which is something that the county's zoning regulations do allow. And so I investigated that further with county planning staff, and as a result of the concern and comment brought up during the community meeting, we were able to bring in those particular standards so that they're exactly as they are in the county to allow for the same flexibility as far as where these attached or detached or these accessory structures can actually take place. When there is a significant changing elevation from a particular pad to the street, that it allows for consideration of the fact that the particular structure can actually encroach into a required setback. So the flexibility is there. In terms of streets, like I said before, they're going to remain semi-rural per our GP circulation element in our general plan. Local private streets, the same. There are some concerns about whether violations of local zoning code requirements, how those will be dealt with. And our code enforcement department will continue to investigate violations as they come up. The fire hazard zones, I checked the latest maps, the map that was adopted, approved June 10th, 2025, and it is still Mar Vista, it is still outside the fire zones. So that's been confirmed. And in terms of CEQA review, the neg deck that was prepared was put out for public review from March 12th to April 1st for a 20-day review period. Now, the basis for approval of the specific plan is that the Mar Vista specific plan does conform with all applicable laws and regulations at the federal, state, and local levels. And the proposed plan is also consistent with the general plan in terms of the land use and community identity element when it comes to goals 2 and 3 in the LUCI, in the land use community identity element, because it helps preserve and enhance features of neighborhoods that share common development patterns, zoning patterns. But it also helps protect neighborhoods from any activities or uses that could potentially have an adverse impact on the neighborhood. So in that regard, the specific plan is helping preserve, enhance, and protect these particular features within the neighborhood. The other aspect of it is that, a very important one, is that the specific plan in and of itself does not propose any specific development project or any construction. And it, on the same vein, it does not incentivize additional development. It is used as a tool for guiding development in terms of development regulations and what the standards are, but in and of itself is not proposing any kind of development project. The proposed specific plan would also help maintain a transition between more intense uses to the south that are on smaller lots, single family, as well as multifamily, between that and the lower density residential uses to the north, east, and west. So a neg deck, which is under CEQA review, an initial study was prepared for a 20-day public review period. And we did receive actually one comment. Letter was received on March 31st. But just go back one bullet here on the slide is that the Planning Commission did approve, as I mentioned before, recommend for approval on March 18th, the specific plan, the neg deck, the changes to the general plan, LUCI figure 2, and actually the zone change as well from A1 to SPI. So one comment letter, as I mentioned, was submitted. Although we are not legally required to provide responses to the comments received under CEQA for a neg deck or comments provided on a neg deck, we felt it was important to provide response to comments to basically identify the fact that the comments did not provide any substantial evidence to support a fair argument that there is, in fact, any kind of significant environmental impact associated with the adoption of the specific plan. So that's why we actually put together a memo, which was an add to packet item as of yesterday, October the 13th, a memo from staff to mayor and council identifying all the comments that were identified by the commenter and the particular responses to those comments. One thing that I also wanted to recognize is that we followed tribal consultations from tribal consultations that were requested of the city under SB 18 and AB 52. After the consultations were concluded, we did receive closure letters from the tribes, which we have that as part of the record as well. And in conclusion, basically the recommendation tonight is for the council to adopt the neg deck for the Mar Vista specific plan, as well as approve the general plan amending the figure of land use community identity element 2 for the Mar Vista area. And last but not least, to adopt the Mar Vista specific plan and approve the zone change from A1 to SPI. And again, I just wanted to add, respectfully request a correction to be made, to be included as part of the motion, should the council decide to adopt a specific plan, to include Hillcrest Drive, which was inadvertently left out of page 16 in the specific plan. And that pretty much concludes my presentation. and I am available for any questions that the council may have. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, and we do have one speaker from the public on this. We have our friend, former Councilman Ted Cole. He's our only speaker on this item. I want to say thank you to Mr. Cole for hosting us at his home with all of his neighbors. Mr. Vaca and Mr. Conley and I were there, and we had a great time getting to know our new residents of the city of Vista. So, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Introducing myself, I am Ted Cole. I reside at 1115 Marine View Drive. And forgot to add in there, Honorable Mayor, distinguished council members. I want to commend city staff in the job that they did. This has been a 4-month journey for not only city staff, but for all of us as residents up there. And city staff has responded to every item of question, of producing why, and I just cannot commend them high enough. You have a good group of people there. You lost a good one to City Encinitas, I believe, but with Patsy and Joe and all the rest of the planners that have worked on this project, great job. The one item as far as Hillcrest, and I just want to make sure there's clarification there, is it was left out inadvertently as a private street. And that's very important to the residents up there on that drive. I have nothing else to say other than I pray that the council in its infinite wisdom will approve what staff has recommended, what the residents are in agreement with, and we can end this journey successfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole, and thanks again for being a leader amongst your neighbors and for helping bridge the divide between that area and your neighbors and staff and the council. We really appreciate it. And I second your remarks about the good work of our staff. Appreciate that very much. And bottom line is this endeavors to protect all of the rights that you and your neighbors had while you were in the county, bring those things in and document them in the city's zoning ordinances with this specific plan. Councilmember O'Donnell.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Cole, we've had opportunities to work on some other things as well, and I just want to say thank you for your service to our city, both as an elected, but just as a community member. It's very refreshing. I do not forget the story you told me about how you used to ride your horse all the way through Shadow Ridge when it was still rabbit trails, over to Oceanside, then back through, stop at Lake Calavera before you took it home. And I think it's really important to notate the overlay that we're putting on this, because it is a little piece of Vista's history that is encapsulated in something that is fading very quickly from a lot of rural communities. So I am very supportive of it. I will not ever support Cannon going all the way through. Mar Vista can't handle that type of traffic in general, much less any private streets that would be impacted. So I appreciate that. Welcome to District 4. If any of your neighbors need to get a hold of me, my number is 760-650-2598. You can reach out anytime. I welcome you, and I'm sure that some of us will disagree, but I'm glad to have a conversation and do whatever I can to work for you in our district. With that being said, I just want to thank staff for all of their hard work on this. I know that it's been a long time coming, everything that went into this. So I will make the motion to close the public hearing, adopt staff recommendations, to include any corrections on page 16 regarding Hillcrest Drive, and that's it.
All right, I'll second that. And actually, we have one speaker on Zoom that would like to be heard, Mr. Francis Dumler. Hello, Francis.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council members. On December 11th, 2024, South Vista Communities strongly endorsed the proposal. And today, on behalf of South Vista Communities, I fully endorse what has been proposed, and also would like to thank the staff for the excellent work that has been done in protecting such a gem in our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also have Jacob Aldridge who'd like to be heard on Zoom.
Hello, City Council, Mayor. Thank you for taking the time to hear me. I can see that there's general support for this plan. I anticipate that everyone will approve it just based on the words that I'm hearing. I would like to invite you all take this opportunity to reflect on what zoning laws should be used for. There's obvious benefits for separating industrial use, agricultural use, residential use. You don't want to live near horrible noises from industrial uses or potential repugnant smells from agricultural use. But to use zoning laws to mandate 1 acre minimum lots is a known reason why we have a housing crisis in this day and age. We are, by mandating these minimum lots, we are subsidizing the very rich to have a place where the land is cheaper because they're the only ones that can afford to live or build there. So, in the future, when you look at your zoning laws, please consider what the implications of them are for the growth of Vista and the future of the housing crisis in America. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now close the opportunity for public comment on this item and hear from Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, thank you to staff. Thank you to the community. I remember when we were first discussing this item, and I think it was, the least that we can do is just make sure you're congruent to the way that it was before. So I am very supportive of it, and thank you to staff for doing an incredible job and getting the recognition of doing a great job from the community. I know it doesn't always happen, and I know that this is a difficult, it's just difficult when things change. So this is, again, I think us moving in the right direction just to make sure that your standard and quality of life remains the same. But please do know that now, as being part of the city of Vista, yes, welcome to District 4, and any of us here are always available to have conversations if anything comes up. So thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously. That'll bring us to our second public hearing tonight regarding the 2025 Regional Transportation Program, Amendment Number 11. The public hearing is now open. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature, by pressing *9, or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Finance Director, Mike Silvio, will introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Our Finance Manager, Sarah Taylor, is going to provide the staff report on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This report is for an amendment to the 2025 Regional Transportation Improvement Program, also known as the RTIP. The RTIP is Sandag's regional program for proposed transit and transportation projects, including those eligible for Transnet funding. Transnet is the countywide voter-approved half-cent sales tax distributed to cities based on population and miles of roadway maintained. Sandag requires each local agency to hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution for any Transnet programming changes before updates to the RTIP are accepted. There is one Vista project that is included in the amendment to the RTIP. The slide shows the Transnet programming changes for this project. The annual street construction overlay project rehabilitates deteriorated streets and asphalt overlays over 1 inch thick and includes ADA curb ramps upgrades and repairs to curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Staff recommends allocating $2.05 million of Transnet funds to address high priority streets identified in the pavement management system. In addition to authorizing the RTIP amendment, approval of the staff report will also increase the capital project budget for fiscal year 2025-26. This concludes my presentation, and we are available for any questions.
All right, we don't have any members of the public that wish to be heard on this item, and we also do not have any council members requested recognition. So with that, I'll offer a motion to approve staff's recommendation. Councilmember Fox.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Seeing no other requests to speak, please cast your votes. Thank you to our finance department for their good work on that. Oh, we're going to just wait just 1 second for, oh, she wanted to abstain? Oh, no, we'll just wait for a moment. Oh. Okay, we will, we'll just thank you very much. We're gonna, we'll take a break on this item. We'll move to the next item and then we'll come back for a vote on this. We'll just wait till she comes back in the chamber. Yeah, just as a courtesy. Yeah. But we're going to proceed to the next item while we do that. So we'll just, at the end of the next item, we'll vote on PH2. Can we do that? Oh, we have to have a vote. Well, we'll just take a 1 minute break. Oh, well, that's okay. She said she wouldn't be back for a while. Okay, so then let's go ahead and cast our votes. I didn't know if she just stepped out to the ladies' room. Okay, thank you. I didn't know that. Go ahead and cast your votes. Give us just a second. There we go. Okay, that item is approved with 4 members voting yes and Deputy Mayor Melendez absent. Okay, that'll bring us to the first of 4 discussion items this evening. The first is regarding a proposed resolution endorsing the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Action Camp and Campaign. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Councilmember Contreras asked for this item to be on the agenda, so we'll ask her to introduce it.
Yes, thank you so much. Actually, for this item, the youth are going to be presenting. Is our, it looks like our system went down. Are we good? Oh, we're back up. Okay. So if the youth that are ready to present, if you could come, do you want them over here or sitting down?
Well, they should come up to the microphone if they're going to present.
Awesome.
Just go ahead and come up and stand at this podium here. Nope, come right over here and stand at the podium. There you go.
Can I just say next slide when?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Also, will Councilmember Melendez be voting on this item?
I assume she will. I'm not quite sure where she went, but if she's back, then yes.
Okay, awesome. So if she comes back, she can look through the resources?
Certainly.
Okay, excellent. So hello. Today I'm going to be I'm going to introduce myself on the next slide, but today I'm going to be presenting about a piece of California legislation known as the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act and why the city of Vista should favor it. So next slide, thank you. So just to start with an introduction for the lovely organization that I'm a part of, and there's a small snapshot of it over here. We are a youth-led campaign under the nonprofit San Diego 350. Our main focus is advocating for an end to dependence on fossil fuels and a just transition to a more sustainable future. Some advocacy we've done in the past is we actually advocated for a bill in California to end backyard oil drilling, so to end oil drilling that is directly close to people's homes. We actually passed a resolution at the Vista City Council about this back in 2024, so it's really exciting to be back. And we focus on empowering youth voices in the fight for climate justice and social justice for current and future generations. Next slide. My name is Sofia Carrasco. I am the Youth the Oil intern, and I've been a member for 2 years. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a junior in high school. So yeah, today I'd love to introduce our current campaign. Next slide. So just to start with the issue, just to throw some numbers at you that hopefully will come together to a bigger picture. If you look at the years from 2021 to 22, Governor Newsom's annual budget included $9.3 billion for climate-related costs. In the following years, flooding in San Diego caused over 1,000 people to be displaced and millions of dollars in damage to public infrastructure. These are unexpected disasters that place a burden on the budget. And much more dramatically, wildfires ravaged Los Angeles in the beginning of 2025. Millions lost their home with a total of an estimated $250 billion in damage. So when we get to these huge numbers, we encounter a problem, which is who's going to pay if not the taxpayers? We know that climate damages cost too much. If we look in 2023 at the ExxonMobil and Chevron reported profits, we get $36 billion and $21 billion respectively. These are bigger numbers than the allocated funding that we saw on the last slide. There are 90 companies, bill would focus on oil and gas companies, behind these greenhouse gas emissions. Ever since the 60s, they've misled the public and avoided accountability, ignoring the findings of their own scientists. So if they're the ones responsible for climate change, why are we the ones suffering the consequences? There is a solution, however. The bill that we are introducing today is known as the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act of 2025. There are twin bills in the state Senate and Assembly. They're going to be going through their first house, ideally in January. And they would hold fossil fuel companies financially accountable for the damage they knowingly caused. But how would this work? This would work through an emissions attribution study spearheaded by the California EPA, which tracks the responsibility for various emissions and how they correlate with the effects of climate change that we're anticipating. This is known as attribution science, and it's been around pretty prominently since the early 2000s. The money calculated based on these emissions would then go into a superfund towards projects responding to and mitigating climate change, combating its effects. And crucially, 40% of these funds are allocated towards frontline communities, so those who typically receive the least funding and are the most disadvantaged. How does this work? It's specifically enforced on companies if their oil and gas products resulted in over 1 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions between 1990 and 2024. So note how this ends at 2024. So it's based on the past emissions that are warming us today. The funds would then go towards improved infrastructure, decarbonization, a just fossil fuel transition, public transportation, emergency disaster management and regulations, including anything declared by the EPA, and possibly more. This matters to the city of Vista because it would benefit continually from this bill's funding up into the 2040s. It would benefit the city's goals of reducing air pollution, supporting local economic development, and improving public health would all be increased by this bill. The funds would help the city stay on track with its climate action plan and make possible much needed projects. This could include stormwater infrastructure updates, wildfire preparedness, such as your wildfire district, and funding for the North County Transit District. All people are affected by climate change, as we know, but it's the people of color, it's the low-income communities, and future generations who are the most affected. The city has a duty to fight for those rights, and I'm sure that all of you recognize this. There are often some frequently asked questions about the bill, so I'd love to go through those. The first issue, of course, is whether oil companies would pass these prices on to the consumer. However, this bill was very careful about this issue, as it only targets the worst pollution, so the ones who meet that given threshold. This leaves plenty of other companies to offer competitive prices. Furthermore, the Superfund fee represents just 3.5% of energy profits. It doesn't threaten bankruptcy by any means, and the energy market would still be up and running. It also has very well codified legal language, in part thanks to past Superfund bills, which were passed in New York and Vermont. So it's done a really excellent job, its authors, on closing any potential loopholes. Another question we get is whether these companies are already being regulated, and the truth is not to the extent that they should be and not in the ways that they should be. The Superfund is important because it ensures that California taxpayers don't have to bear the full financial cost of their historical pollution. It doesn't impact other accountability efforts like lawsuits, nor does it impact cap and trade, which is much more flexible and is more of an incentive. This is firmly based in past emissions. So to summarize, this is crucial towards taxpayer relief because it's the polluters who are paying for disaster recovery and would help prevent spikes in taxes and prevent us from needing to take more state bonds when our budget really can't handle it, which brings to the second issue, which is that it bridges the budget gap. This would help absolve the state's current $12 billion budget for the next fiscal year and lessen the financial impact of future climate disasters. It also empowers local governments. With this new funding, they'd be able to pursue more projects to bring about sustainable and equitable cities. It also focuses on polluter accountability by targeting those most responsible and allowing them to pay for these years of damage they've caused. Finally, it creates jobs through climate resilience, farming, transportation, disaster recovery, and infrastructure relief. It also, thanks to California's wonderful classifications of what amounts to a climate effort, it could also improve other issues such as heat protections. And it's been done before. Both New York and Vermont have passed their own Superfunds. Maine, Rhode Island, and other states have introduced similar bills this year. And this Superfund is based on a bill from way back in the 1980s, which was about holding companies accountable for oil spills. So it echoes that and then applies it to climate change. So now our resolution. Our goal is to build Vista's progress stated in its climate action plan by strengthening disaster resilience and unlocking critical funds for the city. Polluters Pay has strong support and nearly passed in 2024. We need a push by local governments. It's a 2-year bill. As I mentioned, it needs to exit its first house by January 2026. And California needs to strengthen its position as a climate leader in an equitable way, and this begins with local coalitions. We call upon the City of Vista to pass a resolution supporting the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act based on a draft resolution which we've attached and sent to many of you. And then finally, just putting that coalition support in context, numerous cities have passed Polluters Pay resolutions. This includes the City of San Diego, the City of La Mesa. These two were passed by Youth Free Oil, and various cities across the state, LA, San Francisco, Berkeley, and more. There's also a snapshot of local organizations who have signed on to our letter, which can be demonstrated here. There's a lot of small business support. Thank you very much. Unless you guys have any questions or comments, I believe it will be passed on to our other youth and adults who are going to be giving public comment. But thank you very much, and thank you, Councilmember Contreras, for providing this opportunity.
Okay, we do have a number of public commenters on this item. We'll start with Joe Hood, followed by Darren Teresiewicz. I hope I got close to right on that. Then Aaron Ariano.
Ready? Young people are about to inherit a big mess that we're leaving them. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for what you're doing. Keep it up. Do more. Thanks to Councilmember Contreras for bringing this forward. If you're injuring someone, you should stop and pay the damage you've caused, like those mayor who broke into your office. This morality applies to climate change. Fossil fuel products emit CO2 that harms our life and don't pay for the cleanup, calling the pollutants, quote, externalities that society is responsible for cleaning up. Mayor, should we consider your losses from break-ins as externalities? The social cost of carbon estimates the long-term damage done by emitting 1 additional ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Cass Sunstein, Harvard professor, authored the 2025 book, Climate Justice, in which he argues that the social cost of carbon caused by the top 20 fossil fuel companies could be as high as $105 trillion per year. Again, 105 T per year. An EPA report says the SCC must cover catastrophic risks, ethical discounting, and intergenerational justice. Mayor, our generation is about to leave a deeply damaged planet to the youth here today. This is utterly shameful. Harms for greenhouse gas emissions include water scarcity, agricultural losses, property damage, health impacts, and ecosystem disruption, and floods, fires, and heat waves. We urgently need a resilient superfund to pay for those causing this mayhem. Please endorse the resolution supporting SB 684 and AB 1243. Make criminals pay. Make criminal polluters pay.
Now we'll hear from Darren Tarasowicz, followed by Aaron Ariano. If you heard your name called, please go ahead and grab a seat in the front row. Be ready to speak. Do we have Aaron Ariano? Go ahead and come forward, grab a seat in the front row. Also, Casey Gupta. Go ahead, Darren.
Good evening. My name is Darren Tarasowicz, and I am a sophomore at Canyon Crest Academy. For far too long, our homes have become engulfed in flames. Our neighborhoods have become ghost towns of ash, and communities have been torn apart from evacuations. There are only 36 companies that are driving half of the world's fossil fuel emissions. Only 36 billionaire CEOs that are swimming in dirty money while profiting off of our struggle. And every single time, we are the ones that have to pack up and leave. We are the ones that have to pay. There are studies that show that the LA wildfires just this year will become the costliest natural disaster in US history, with expected increased local inflation up to 1% and up to 40,000 lost jobs. But despite all of this darkness, there is hope that things will get better. With the Make Polluters Pay Climate Superfund, this economic burden will be shifted off of victims of climate disasters. Communities, including LA, will have the support that they desperately need to rebuild the local economy and recover their small businesses that are so crucial to job growth and innovation. Here in Vista, we can benefit from funding for our Climate Action Plan and NCTD infrastructure. All of this can be done without raising taxes or cutting vital services, but it needs your support today. I'd like to call on the council members today to support the Make Polluters Pay Climate Superfund and uplift local communities to pave way for a brighter, greener future. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Aaron Ariano, followed by Casey Gupta, and we'll hear from Janice Jones and Jacob Schneider.
Excuse me. Thank you. Do you know what it's like to have your school campus surrounded by a wildfire, forced to flee your classroom, forced to evacuate out of your home? My name is Aaron Ariano, and as a resident of Vista and a student of Bonsall Schools, I do. Honorable City Council members, the Polluters Pay resolution at hand is protecting the future for the youth, like me, like us. I implore you to vote for this resolution, the vote to save our future. This bill shifts the burden from the state and the taxpayers to the industry, and it would help mitigate and recover from climate impacts in the state. Every year, North County, San Diego is hit by wildfires, and every year it gets worse, which is directly attributable to climate change. By holding the oil companies accountable for their actions, we are actively taking steps to ensure our future. Instead of having to worry about the next place you might have to shelter in your local community, we can instead work towards stability. This is an actionable item that you can vote on that turns worries into assurances. Please support this resolution for the youth and for all of our futures. Vote in support for the Polluters Pay resolution proposed to you today. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Casey Gupta, followed by Janice Jones, followed by Jacob Schneider.
Good evening, honorable council members and honorable Mayor Franklin. My name's Casey and I'm 17. I'm here tonight because my generation's already living with the damages of climate change, heat waves, wildfire smoke, and the droughts. We see it, we feel it, and it's only getting worse. When I think of the future, I wonder what your grandkids or mine will say when they ask what we did when we still had time to act. Will they thank us for standing up for the right to breathe clean air and live on a safe planet? Or will they ask why we let the biggest polluters keep getting away with destroying it? We already know who's responsible. The fossil fuel companies knew for decades that their products were heating the planet, and they hid the truth. They made billions in profit while communities like ours pay the price, with higher energy bills, rising insurance costs, and more extreme weather each year. That's why Make Polluters Pay matters. It's about fairness. It's about accountability. It's about saying to those who caused the damage should help fix it. Not young people, not working families, not future generations. By passing this resolution, Vista can stand on the right side of history, alongside cities across California demanding justice and a livable future. Please do this for your grandkids and for mine. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Janice Jones, followed by Jacob Schneider, followed by Nancy Ushley.
Good evening, Janice Jones, long-term Vista resident and environmental commissioner. I'm brought to tears listening to the youth tonight, and I can't say or share anything more powerful than what they have to say, and to hear their voices on this issue really brings it home how powerful it is and important it is what you have the opportunity to do tonight. I support it because my understanding is it will bring much needed funds to the city to support infrastructure, mitigation, adaptation, and it will help ensure that Vista can move forward into the future prepared for whatever is to come. Thank you.
Jacob Schneider, followed by Nancy Ushley, followed by Ayad Hawa on Zoom.
I'm Jacob Schneider. I'm a senior in high school. So environmental policies are falsely associated with raised taxes. However, ignoring climate change actually increases taxes. Creating a climate change superfund ensures that major polluters pay for natural disasters instead of hardworking taxpayers. Now, let me lay out some numbers for you. In New York, taxpayers spent $1.3 billion in 2024 alone to clean up for a record number of extreme weather events. And actually, the number of natural disasters has tripled in recent years. It was in around 200 in the 1960s, and in the 2000s, it was in the 600s. So the damages caused by big oil companies is actually making life miserable for everyone around this country. The tax money that we spend cleaning up oil spills could actually be used for other measures like public transit, like the North County Vista public transportation infrastructure, public schools, free lunch at public schools, and better road infrastructure. And I have a job, I work, I know everyone here pays taxes, and I want my taxes funding things that actually are important, not preventative disasters caused by someone else. As the cost of climate disasters continues to skyrocket, California must follow in the footsteps of New York and Vermont and pass Make Polluters Pay. Thank you.
Nancy Ushley, followed by Ayad Hawa.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, staff. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. First off, I'd like to say, what a great presentation. I didn't expect, I guess I didn't read that this was sponsored by the youth, and that was really neat, and I'm glad I was here for that. And also I'd like to say there were 7 mailed-in comments on this item. All 7 were in favor, and one of them was a lovely letter from Dr. Bronner's. So I encourage people, if you haven't read those comments, to go online and read them. As you can imagine, I do support this. And especially, I mean, oh my gosh, number G, 90 companies are responsible for most of our greenhouse gas emissions. That's kind of mind-boggling. 90 companies. We have way more than 90 companies here in Vista, right? I would imagine. I don't know how many businesses we have, but I'll bet it's more than 90. So anyway, please support this. And again, this is really great. So thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Contreras, for putting it on the agenda. And do Vista proud.
Ayad Hawa on Zoom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I want to point out that according to a 2017 report from the County of San Diego, the city of Vista could potentially face up to $15.5 billion of damage to residential, commercial, and industrial properties from wildfires, and up to $215 million of property damage from dam failures. And the city of Vista is especially vulnerable to wildfires as it has seen temperatures as high as 108 degrees Fahrenheit. And so in response to this, the city of Vista has outlined 8 goals as part of a hazard mitigation plan. Among those goals are to promote disaster-resistant future development, build and support local capacity and commitment to continuously become less vulnerable to hazards, improve hazard mitigation coordination and communication with federal, state, and local governments, and reduce the possibility of damage and losses from floods and structural fires and wildfires. Specifically, as part of this plan, the city has aimed to promote cooperative vegetation management and continue to equip the new City Emergency Operations Center and Department Operations Centers. And these things obviously cost money for the city. And so the city has also tried to identify state and federal hazard mitigation funds for the city to use as part of its efforts to reduce the risk of floods and wildfires. And this bill would play a key part through the Superfund in raising money the city of Vista could use to mitigate the risk of future disasters and reduce damage to vulnerable properties, including commercial, industrial, and residential properties throughout the city.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll hear from Councilmember Contreras.
First off, I want to say hats off to the youth and Sophia. That was an incredible presentation. I think we could probably just get up and leave and you could take our seats, you know. I really do want to see, you know, our youth continue to be leaders and in this space when we're talking about your future. I think it's the responsibility of us who are older to ensure that we're doing everything possible to make your future better. And I can't say that that's the case right now. So it's really important for our youth and young adults to speak up. There's incredible research that you've done. And yeah, I'm just totally blown away by your presentation. I'll say, when it comes to the city of Vista, you know, we've had close calls. When we had the Lilac wildfire, if it weren't for the way that the winds changed, we might not be here. We might still be suffering from billions of dollars of destruction. And we can't just leave it up to chance. We have to do everything that we can now to ensure that we can fund hazard mitigation, that we prepare for increased wildfire, right? That we prepare for extreme heat. You know, all these things cost money. Right now, you know, we even have a hard time. It would be great to see if some of this funding, if it comes to fruition, could even be used to mitigate fire load in some of the outer parts of Vista, where folks just don't have the money to clear, you know, dry weeds and grasses that we know are just extreme kindling. I was talking to a constituent not too long ago about that, and she's really concerned about one of her neighbors, and they don't have the ability to pay. But if we were able to infuse our budget, and other cities are able to do that too, with this funding from a super fund, there's a lot more that we could do. And I think it's really important that you also pointed out, climate resilient infrastructure for public transit. I know, with the floods in San Diego, we saw the trolley system was really affected. Some of those routes were completely washed out. We happen to even have, a really big flood zone here in Vista that we're always trying to figure out ways to mitigate that. We have, some of our creeks. There's a lot of hydrology needs to make sure that those are structured properly, and we just don't have the funding for that. There's a lot of different needs that we have, and we just don't have funding for it. And I think that this is a common sense approach to hold those responsible for driving pollution and driving the climate crisis forward. We need to hold them accountable and responsible. So I wholeheartedly support this. I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund resolution and to submit this position of support to the state. But please, anytime you want to talk about how we can make our communities stronger, just know that all of us here, we want to hear from you again and again and again, because it's really critical. Your voice makes such a big difference. And thank you again for being here.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
I will second the motion. I will second all the comments that were made as well. It is genuinely and truly inspiring to see you all here fighting for this. You have been let down time and time again. This generation has been let down time and time again when it comes to the affordability of cost of living, housing, gun violence, environmental impacts, reproductive rights. Everything that you can throw at this generation has been thrown your way. And to see that you are actively fighting back and trying to make a difference, not just for you all, but for all of us up here and for the people that come behind us. I have two young boys that are both under the age of 3 at home, and I would do anything for them. And everything I do and every decision I make, I try and keep that in mind as how do we make it better for the next generation and not just the people that are sitting up here making decisions. And so I am happy to support this. I tell you, continue fighting the good fight and fighting this cause, because without your voice, without your inspiration, without showing up to meetings like this, it's going to just get that much harder. So I would strongly encourage you to reach out to every state legislator. I would strongly encourage you to reach out to every federal legislator, but reach out to every council, because this is where the small ripple turns into a wave. And just keep up the great work, and I'm really glad to see you here tonight, and I'm sure we will see you again in the future, so I will look forward to it then.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you, Mayor, and I completely agree, Councilmember. I would absolutely encourage the youth that are here tonight to take this conversation to other decision makers and other cities. But as far as the city of Vista goes, and your council here, I also support you. I apologize for my brief absence from the chamber, but I want you to know I heard your presentation and I hear your concerns and I share your concerns. Thank you for showing up strong and taking this seriously, because a lot of adults do not take this seriously. But you understand that it's your future and your livelihood. You're going to be here for the next 50, 55, 60, 75, 100 years, right? And we want to make sure that you have a planet to grow into. So I can't necessarily third the motion, but I support the item here tonight, and I just want to keep my comments brief and say thank you for being here. Thank you to my colleague for bringing the item forward. It's an occasional opportunity that the City Council has to support a resolution for something happening at the state level that really resonates with our community. And this could make a direct impact on our community if we were able to deliver funds in the case of a disaster. So thank you for helping us advocate for that.
Councilmember Fox.
Perfect. Thank you. And I just want to echo a lot of the same notes from my council. I want to give props to Ms. Carrasco and the San Diego 350 team on the very professional presentation. I think you probably made a better presentation than I've seen from a lot of adults out there. So great job. It sounds like you have the support of council tonight. So I'll take this time just to kind of voice some of my concerns. I do plan on voting for it in solidarity with my council, but I think when it comes to a lot of these issues that are facing us from a state or federal level, I think it's difficult for us here on councils to approach a lot of these issues. Like we ran a lot of our campaigns on, infrastructure, public safety, a lot of local issues and things that we try to face where we can have a direct impact on it. And typically with, these types of resolutions and things where we don't have a whole lot of say over what the state of California does, I'm a little bit hesitant to hop on board these types of things. The how this is actually plays out with doing a climate super fund versus something like what they did with the opioid settlement fund through the court system and through it's difficult for me to say which is a better option for our state or for on a federal issue on those types of levels. That's not what I'm typically elected to do, but I understand that there is value in having the support of your local jurisdiction on some of this stuff. So, typically that's, I would prefer something more like a judicial approach just because they have a lot of those systems in place for things like assessing damages and assigning the right parties and making sure that the people bringing the lawsuit are the people who, actually have been harmed and making sure that they get the funding and a lot of that kind of stuff. But, but again, I'll support this with my council tonight, and it's I guess mostly just for future kind of stuff. I guess my preference, I guess, as a council member. But I thank you again for the presentation. You guys did an actually fantastic job, and was very informative. And all the conversations we had offline and the information that was sent was very well put together. And you did a fantastic job on it. So thank you.
Well, I would certainly second the remarks made by my colleagues about the wonderful presentations that were made by our young students and leaders. Appreciate you seeking out information and developing a theory and taking action on it. There was a lot of foundational information and premise that I can't agree with. And without getting into a long dissertation tonight, what I would say is, I'm just not able to support this because it will increase the cost of energy, and that will hurt working people the hardest. A lot of the policies that have been suggested as a remedy for different environmental issues, but particularly this Superfund idea, which is essentially just a tax on energy in California, will be born and hurt the working person the hardest. That's the reason that California's State Building and Construction Trades Council, which is a labor union that represents working people who work in the building trades, strongly opposed this, said it would kill jobs, drive up energy prices, and called it a stealth tax on working families. And it would widen the affordability gap. The quote from their organization's representative was, "It's not by chance, it's by choice. We're making decisions to increase cost of living." And, we need to address, I'm a conservationist. We don't and should never pollute our environment needlessly. And we should always look for ways to reduce and eliminate pollution and emissions. However, when we lash out like this with a tax that will hurt working families and stifle economic development and production, we have to think about the real world impact on the people that we represent here in Vista. Vista is a city that is 25% below the area median income for the county as a whole. So we represent a community that's slightly poorer than the rest of the other 18 cities in our county. So we have to think about the way these policies are going to impact those working people. There's a real-world impact on driving up costs and making it harder for people to afford to live a quality life here in California. Recently, our environmental policies, our governor's poor leadership have driven 2 oil refineries to decide to close their operations in California. There are predictions that gasoline will be $8 a gallon next year. And if that sounds too much to be believed, know that, last week I was on the East Coast and the prices for gasoline there are $2.50, where here they're $5.50. And people that I saw in Virginia, they asked me, what does it cost for a gallon of gas in California? And I told them it's $5.50. And they were in shock. They couldn't believe it. So for those reasons, I can't support this, but I do want to compliment you on the wonderful job that you did speaking, and I appreciate your passion and advocacy for your beliefs. With that, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item passes with 4 votes in favor and 1 vote against. Okay, that'll bring us to item D2, a resolution proposing supporting actions to further strengthen local democracy, authority, and control as related to local zoning and housing issues. And I ask for this item to be on the agenda. And we've got a speaker. This is a resolution that reads, and we had extensive discussion at a recent development project where all of us opined as a council that we lamented the fact that California, the legislature was taking our rights to self-determination away from us as a community. So this reads, the legislature of the state of California each year proposes, passes, and has signed into law a number of bills addressing a range of housing issues. The legislature does not allow sufficient time between each legislative cycle to determine if the legislation is successful in bringing about further changes for the state of California housing issues. The majority of these bills usurp the authority of local jurisdictions to determine for themselves the land use policies and practices that best suit each city and its residents, and instead imposes mandates that do not take into account the needs and differences of those jurisdictions throughout the state. The ability of local jurisdictions to determine for themselves which projects require review beyond ministerial approval and parking requirements and which parking requirements are appropriate for various neighborhoods within their jurisdiction, what plans and programs are suitable and practical for each community rather than having these decisions opposed by the state of California without regard to the circumstances of each individual city, and what zoning should be allowed for residential properties is a matter of great importance to the city of Vista, among other items related to local zoning and housing issues. The City Council of Vista feels strongly that our local government is best able to assess the needs of our community and objects to the proliferation of state legislation that deprives us and our residents of that ability. The City of Vista is opposed to the current practice of the legislature of the state of California of continually proposing and passing multitudes of bills that directly impact and interfere with the ability of cities to control their own destiny through the use of zoning, an authority that has been granted to them. The City of Vista will explore various ways to protect the ability of cities to retain local control over zoning, as each individual city within the state of California is best suited to determine how the zoning in their city should be allocated in order to meet the housing needs of their own community. The city clerk shall certify the adoption of this resolution and shall cause this resolution and certification to be entered into the book of resolutions for the city council. So we have all expressed frustration about the legislature taking local control away. Today, SB 79, which I've asked Mr. Vaca, our planning director, to give us some more information about at a future meeting, further diminishes local control, taking one of the most significant rights of the people of California away from them. And I would just underscore the fact that the people of California have a right to approach their city council chambers and their mayor and their city council and to speak for 3 minutes at a time. You have no such right to speak before the state legislature. You don't have the ability, most California residents don't, to even get a phone call with your state assembly person. So decisions should be made locally. So for that reason, I ask your support for this resolution. And we have one public speaker who'd like to be heard on this, Ted Cole.
Honorable Mayor, distinguished council members, thank you for the previous vote. Having been a resident for the city of Vista for 64 years, I'm 72 going on 73. I appreciate the decisions and the issues that come before you. But having been on that council, and a council that actually came up with the first community identity element for the city of Vista, and it all started as 2020 or 2000 Visions 2000. I am appalled that the state has, under housing crisis, has taken the position to usurp local control over the ability for me to talk one-on-one with you at any time, by invitation, to say, you know, there's something wrong here. This, to me, is just a small pushback in approving this resolution, to say, you know what? You've never been to the city of Vista. You don't realize what a 10-story apartment complex would look like in the city of Vista, much less more than one. You have the ability, once again, to just do a push back, and hopefully other cities would follow suit, that local control knows what's best. You, as our council members, know what is best for our community. It's very disheartening when I hear, well, the state law says we can't even ask for a reduction in units. This has just gotten insane. And I would hope that you would all get on board and saying, wait a minute, King's Act, time out. We got to send a message back that it's time to give it back to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Donnell.
I appreciate the comments. Yeah, we have talked at length about the control of the state over our local zoning, over our housing requirements. And while I agree that there are times that the state needs to interject and have some overlay within communities that refuse to build anymore, I believe that their overreach has far exceeded what it needs to for cities when we're trying to develop. And we just saw that most recently in the Monte Vista project, where our entire community came out and they had very large concerns. And because of the way the state law is structured, there was nothing we could do as a council about it. So we couldn't advocate for our community. We couldn't advocate for our residents. And so I'm supportive of a resolution that will push back on some of the laws that exist right now that are on the books. The most recent one, like I agree, SB 79 needs to have some function within cities. I just feel like it's too broad and paints too broad of a brush and takes away too much control from local municipalities in trying to design effective building near transit corridors. So I'm supportive of it. It's a lot I want to say on it, but I won't. I'll just say that I will support it. Did you make the motion?
I haven't yet.
I will make the motion to approve this resolution, and I will turn the mic back over.
Councilmember Fox.
Perfect, thank you. So what I was saying that, I'm typically not in favor of, passing resolutions on and telling the state or federal government what to do. This is the exact exception that I'm talking about, when it literally impedes our ability to do our jobs as a council. And I can see why the state is putting these policies in place. There are bad actors out there that don't want to build anything at all, and are using their zoning as a cudgel. But I do not believe that the City of Vista is one of those. I think we operate as a good faith actor. I think we do our best to work with developers and to work with our community and find things that fit where they need to go, and excluding all the ones that are forced on us by density bonus laws and things like that. But one of my other big issues with this is a lot of these state policies actually incentivize us to have negative things that are negative externalities. Like, we're about to vote on our 2050 general plan, and there's a lot of areas that we want to talk about upzoning, and these are areas that we can do some good that we think would be or have the infrastructure in place to do different things with. However, I have to go into these votes thinking whatever we actually zone for, we could potentially get double density bonus to double that. And so it incentivizes us to think about these things, and you're not allowed to down zone. So if we ever do push it to that, and then we have too many, a bunch of people rush into an area and overwhelm our infrastructure, we can't go back. So there's just a lot of things like that these policies, while they may be set out with good intentions, have had negative impacts on our community. They don't let us do our jobs, and they actually incentivize some bad behavior from councils to not vote for things they would, because of how other people will then turn around and use our policies against us. So in that regard, I am very much in favor of passing this resolution. My only question is, I know that there's a couple organizations that have these resolutions. Will this include adding our city to any of the lists, like the groups like our Neighborhood Voices or Cal Cities for Local Control, or any of those type of lists of cities? I know that our Neighborhood Voices is looking to put a ballot initiative forward, and cities like San Marcos and Oceanside have joined that one. And I think Cal Cities is just for local control is just mostly just a resolution kind of thing. So other than that, I'm for it. But if anyone, I'd be curious if that's something that we're interested in doing as well. Thanks.
I would certainly join you in providing that direction to our city staff. I have already, as mayor, endorsed those items and conveyed my personal support as mayor. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I think the resolution as written, it just highlights things that we've said anyways as developments come forward to us. I will tell you that there's nothing in this resolution that I think is going to change the state's mind. I think, by looking at this, I think that there's better ways to have a conversation with the state and being more specific, as I've proposed, that we look at doing a resolution and advocating to the state that we shouldn't have density bonus within a quarter mile of any CAL FIRE severity zone. I think that's just, basic information that no one's really communicating to the state. So I'll be supportive of this, but I'm really someone who is more strategic than this resolution offers. And I think if we're going to have communications with the state and we want them to listen, we have to be more strategic in the resolutions that we put forward, and we have to be very specific. So that's just my, just the way that I've seen things work, is the more specificity, the better. So I'm still on board with anybody in the community who wants to look at ensuring that we don't put density near fire severity zones, whether they're moderate or very high. So I'll support this. I think it's kind of weak, though, as a I just have to say that it's kind of a weak resolution.
Did you have any language that you suggest adding to it?
Yeah, well, I really do think that we need to make a stance on density bonus not being permissible within a quarter mile of a CAL FIRE designated fire severity zone. And I think, when we're talking about Monte Vista, that's exactly what happened. They're at a 0-foot lot line to a medium CAL FIRE severity zone, and we were, I voted against it, but I understand why people voted for it, because there's not a lot of wiggle room for us. So I think that when we can get more specific and we can start tackling these issues in that type of way, using that type of language, we just make a better case to our state representatives than what's currently presented in this resolution. But I do support local control, so I will support this. I just think that there's a lot better strategy moving forward if we want to have a conversation that actually goes back and forth, not just submitting something and it being lost forever because no one really cares to read it. But so I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I appreciate that. I hope you'll provide a copy of this resolution to our state assembly leaders that you have a relationship with, and express to them that their continued efforts to erode local control are really depriving local constituents the ability to make decisions for the destiny of their own communities. One of the things that's really important to me as I think about why I wasn't lucky enough to be born in Vista. Oftentimes people come with pride and express that they've lived here all their life. I wasn't that lucky, but I had to choose Vista, and I chose Vista because, particularly because of the population density. That was absolutely a conscious decision. I love the suburban and semi-rural nature of the city of Vista. I set touchdown in Los Angeles my first time ever in California, and I got on the 405, and after an hour and a half mile of forward progress, I said, why would any person ever choose to live in Los Angeles? I can't for the life of me understand why any person would do that. I absolutely understood when I first came to Vista why people would want to make this their home. It's a gorgeous place. We have a community that's the kind of size where you can come and you can speak right in front of your mayor and council, where if you call your city council person, there's a pretty good chance, or even the mayor, that they're going to answer the phone and take your call. I don't want to live in a high-rise, high-density place. I probably, if that's the future of our city, probably don't want to retire in a place like that. And one of the strongest reasons I brought this forward and why I'm serving on this council is I want to be able to live out all of my days here in Vista because I love this place. So thanks for supporting it. I hope you'll use your social media platforms and your personal advocacy with state leaders to tell them to stop doing this to us. Allow us to build new communities throughout our state. Don't force this high-rise, high-density stuff on us. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Oh, we had a second from Councilmember Fox. No, yeah.
I may not have, but I'll second now.
Oh, okay. I thought you made a second. My apologies. Okay. Please cast your votes. Thanks for keeping us honest, Walter. Okay, that motion is approved with 5 votes in favor. Our next item is a short-term rental and transient occupancy tax status update. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise your hand feature, pressing star 9 or submitting a request to speak card now. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our finance manager, Sarah Taylor, will introduce this item.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this item is to provide an update on the implementation of the city's short-term rental ordinance and the related transient occupancy tax collections. This has been a truly collaborative effort between several departments, including community development, code enforcement, the city attorney's office, and the finance department. The ordinance went into effect July 1st, 2024, and we now have a full year of implementation data to share. It's worth noting that we had some short-term rental businesses register as businesses and make tax payments prior to the ordinance, but this is the first year of our formal comprehensive compliance period. I'll now turn it over to Lisa Hand, our management analyst in finance, who will walk through the implementation progress, compliance efforts, and revenue results in more detail.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The goals of the ordinance are to safeguard peace, safety, and overall well-being while ensuring compatibility with existing residential neighborhoods and create a streamlined permitting process for short-term rental operations. Key provisions of the ordinance establish licensing and registration requirements, operational standards that include occupancy limits, parking, and noise rules. It also set up enforcement mechanisms and penalties for those who do not comply. There are many benefits of having a short-term rental ordinance. We have seen increased compliance and tax revenue. The ordinance makes it harder for short-term rental operators to evade registering and paying transient occupancy tax. There's more transparency and accountability since we know who is operating short-term rentals, where they are, and whether or not they're paying their taxes. This helps us and the public understand what's happening in the community. It also levels the playing field. Owners that have not been compliant in the past need to complete the same registration and reporting standards. This reduces the unfair advantage for those who might have been skirting the rules and not paying transient occupancy tax. Staff obtained proposals and interviewed 4 companies and selected Deckard Technologies as our short-term rental compliance vendor. Deckard provides a complete package of services that we are using to achieve our objectives with our short-term rental ordinance and tax collection. They provide a robust system to identify and continuously monitor existing STRs. The outreach campaign consists of a letter campaign that provides details about our ordinance and gives instructions to register and pay transient occupancy tax. It includes a snapshot of their online STR advertisement. The registration portal provides a streamlined process for short-term rental owners to navigate permitting. The tax collection portal uses the same login, and we also have a 24/7 complaint hotline and online portal that neighbors can use. They can include photos, audio, and/or video. Our City of Vista webpage provides a plethora of information and quick links to our compliant and registration portals. The public portal pictured here provides the public with information on our licensed STRs, including a map of the city with the location of each registered property. When you click on the dot, you can see the address, permit number, local 24/7 contact name, and phone number. There's also a list view option that provides the same information. Next, I'll be going over the outreach and compliance progress. It's important to note that we had voluntary compliance before the STR ordinance. The city had 30 STRs registered by June of 2023, and that increased to 49 by June of 2024. Between March and September 2025, outreach letters were mailed to 110 different STR property owners. From those letters, we received responses from more than 80%. We currently have 103 STR properties registered as of October 10th. On August 6, 2025, code enforcement staff issued notice of violations to 24 property owners that our records show are operating a short-term rental business and not compliant with our ordinance. 11 of the 24 are now in compliance. This brings the number of non-compliant cases to 13. Code enforcement staff issued first administrative citations, including a fine of $500 to these property owners. If they still do not comply, the second citation is $1,000, and the third and any subsequent citations within a year are $1,500 each. The STR permit is revoked after the third citation within a 1-year period. At this point, the property owners will receive a cease and desist letter along with a collection invoice, and if not paid, the fees and fines will be transferred to their property tax bill. We have seen positive growth trends from our short-term rental registration, and it has more than doubled since June of 2024. And our tax collection has increased by more than 150% from the prior year. You can see a quarterly breakdown of the tax collected for the past 3 years on the chart. Please note that these figures include late fees and interest, so they could be higher in fiscal year 24-25 than we will see in our next fiscal year. We will continue to work with our code enforcement staff in regards to non-compliant short-term rentals and work with city attorney's staff as needed. We will monitor TOT reporting for compliance and send reminders prior to quarterly tax due dates, with another reminder if tax reporting and payment are not received by the deadline. With the help of Deckard Technologies, identification and monitoring of new short-term rentals will continue, and our outreach letter campaign will be ongoing as well when new STRs pop up in the city. I would now like to introduce Nick Del Pego, CEO of Deckard Technologies.
Thank you. City Council, Mayor, thank you for having me tonight. Pleasure to be here. I am a San Diego native, and so I told the city staff here a year ago that if they had a meeting and wanted me to attend, I'd be happy to come in person and make my way up. And it's been a great year with the city staff working on this project. I will say we have 500 jurisdictions in 35 states and operate in 3 countries. So I deal with a lot of different clients, and this city staff is leaned in, working hard, and has done a wonderful job. I know that my team thoroughly enjoys working with them. If you want to hit the next slide. And I've taken a look at some of the progress. So I leaned in, and when Lisa asked me, and I had the team pull some numbers for me, and I looked at some of the progress that's gone on. The compliance as it sits today, and this is a never-ending game that we play, is at 81%, which up from where it was is great. And that happens in 2 ways. It happens by people who get the outreach and get the communication, registering their businesses and complying with the rules that you've passed. It also sometimes is people who are in the market, and then when they're faced with the question of whether they really want to run the business on the up and up, exit the market. And that's a win too. It may put housing stock back on. It also provides the equity to everybody else. And those 2 things have raised up the overall compliance rate. At the moment, we are in the process of tracking down. We've identified who owns the businesses, the 24 remaining operating today that we will bring in. So my team will be working to get them to come to the registration portal, register, and become healthy operating businesses. And in the event that they refuse, then we'll work with the city attorney staff, code compliance, and folks that need that support with the tools that we can provide. As you can see, I kind of put some comparables in here. We tend to see between 64 and 99% compliance. And a little bit of that's geography. It's a little easier in some geographies to raise compliance, and in places where maybe we're dealing with a lot of high-rise buildings, it can be a little more difficult. I fully expect that the number here, the 81%, will grow over the next year as this program continues to mature. What I typically see is by the end of year 2 or 3, when I'm doing this with the city, that they're able to achieve the high 90 rates, and given the geography here, I think that's very achievable. One of my early clients was La Quinta, California, out in the Coachella Valley, and I was actually on a call a few hours ago with the city clerk there, and it was a big issue when we started with them 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's not. It's just something that runs very smoothly, and they're very happy with the outcomes they've had for the quality of life of their citizens. One of the things that I stress here is this is kind of there's a lot of activity that goes on, both with my team and with yours. These businesses move, they change, they sell, people retire into their vacation homes, people leave the community, and new people join. And so this is the kind of thing where you see a lot of churn. When the project kicked off, we waded through years of data history, went through over 1,000 listings, and year to date, we've had 149 new advertisements show up. We'll probably see another 30 or 40 before year's end. And so this is a constant, shall I say, story where we identify people operating their businesses, and it's really about the education, telling them how to do business properly in the city of Vista and how to make sure that they're doing the right things by your community. Next slide. All right, looking ahead, we never change. Look, I'm a big-time data software guy. I spent my previous 15 years of my life working at Qualcomm Technologies, original chief scientist, and doing a ton of different software and data plays. With that, like any good piece of software, it's constantly being worked on and improved. The landscape we play with is changing. I'm always looking with the team to do things to make the job easier, more efficient, more effective for your staff. Lisa was kind enough this last week even to sit with my team and talk about some of the new upcoming changes we happen to be wanting to make, and to get her inputs and thoughts on how we'd actually be able to integrate those in a way that would make things easier for staff here and more effective and efficient. So with that, we'll continue to monitor the change and the churn. We see about 25% year-over-year change in the STR operators in most communities year-over-year. We'll also be looking at really improving some of the things we do, particularly around the revenue assurance. Are people paying the right amount of tax? Are we letting them know if there's a discrepancy between their filings in an automated way? So using some behavioral software to really encourage people to be thorough and diligent when they're doing these things and complete, and doing it in a way that hopefully doesn't burden staff, but makes it a little more intuitive to the business operators, and make sure they're able to do what they should be doing to your ordinance as easily and effectively as possible. Making this easy on business operators, giving them that education, it makes everything smooth. And then lastly, as Lisa pulled a bunch of information this year for this together, we're doing a ton of improvements around the information that we share, so that it's easier for Lisa, for the team here, the compliance, the city attorney, and then ultimately, if they want to share that information with the leadership, easier to consume so that you understand what's going on. So we have a lot of improvements coming to that will just come naturally in the next 6 to 12 months, so that you can more easily see the state of affairs from the system. With that, I thank you for having me here, and I'm happy to ask questions during or after.
Thank you. So in conclusion, it's also worth mentioning that there is a new Senate bill regarding the subject of short-term rentals. SB 346 is a bill that just passed and was signed by the governor this week. The purpose of this bill is to give local governments more tools to ensure the collection and compliance of transient occupancy taxes and short-term rentals that are facilitated by platforms such as Airbnb, Vrbo, etc. These facilitators must report the physical address and other information needed to identify the property, such as parcel number, listing ID, host information, etc., for each property listed with them. It also requires that each short-term rental listing includes a local license and TOT number issued by the local agency. This concludes my presentation on the short-term rental and transient occupancy tax update. No action is required from council, but as mentioned earlier, this item involves collaboration across several departments, including community development, code enforcement, city attorney's office, and finance. Representatives from each of these departments are available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Seeing no requests for public comment on this item, we'll close the opportunity for public comment on this item at this time. We'll hear from Councilmember O'Donnell.
Great job. I really appreciate it. I did have a few questions. So we do a cease and desist. Any fines get transferred to a tax bill. What if they continue to operate? How do we stop them at that point?
Well, after we collect their fines, we're going to continue to fine them, and it's just going to continue to roll on the tax bill. So if they don't pay their fines, we would just continue to amass probably massive fines annually on the tax bill.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can add to that. If we need to, we would bring a civil litigation. So TOT is the property of the city, and so the operator is collecting it on behalf of the city. So at no time does the operator own, that money. So if necessary, we would estimate the number of stays, and we would, give them a bill for that too. So beyond the late fees, the administrative citations and all.
I'm sure there's some legal form to put a lien on the property at some point if needed.
It could, if we have a judgment, then and judgment enforcement procedures would allow that.
Okay, thank you. Nick, can I ask you real quick? And thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I've been at La Quinta many times. I'm out in Palm Springs all the time for work. But so in this report, it says 1,017 listings, and yet we only have 103 registered units. And so I'm just curious, how is that an 81% success rate
So good. I'll do the math and make it clear on a couple of fronts. One, listings are advertisements. And so there are a tremendous amount of advertisements that go on. And we also check your surrounding communities. So the way that the short-term rental industry tends to work is there's dots on maps, and they may or may not be in your city, yet operating in your city. So to check your city, we actually look at all of the adjacent communities, about, call it a third of a mile to a half a mile in, and we check all those as well. Also, on the short-term rental websites, VRBO, Expedia's platform, or Airbnb being the two big guys you're going to think of, but there's hundreds of others. We're going to check robustly things that might qualify as long-term rentals, and we adjudicate that they're not operating as a short-term rental and they're safe. We're going to look at traditional hotels, which now often advertise on there as well. We're going to look at a lot of different listings. Also, we look a bit back in time when we first start a client. There is potentially backwards tax liabilities, backwards operation, and we see seasonality. And so a lot of times what we'll see with that is some seasonality. People operate. They're not operating when we first look, but they may come back to the market with the season. Lastly, it's not unusual to have 3 or 4 advertisements nowadays for one property. The listings or the advertisements, they're just that. You can advertise a product on Amazon.com and on Walmart.com and on eBay simultaneously, and then have your own website. Well, the short-term rental industry nowadays is no different. People are on Airbnb, they're on VRBO, they go to a platform like HostAway who builds them a website, and they go on Booking.com, and there are so many websites operating. So we're actually looking at all of those various advertisements they may be running. And what our system does is it centralizes all of that down to the parcel that's the piece of land in your city. And so that's why we look at so many. But that first year, because we're looking at the history as well, we're going to do a tremendous volume. What we translated that down to at the moment in time we sat in when I looked at the data last week was there were 127 parcels with a few hundred active advertisements operating at that moment, with 103 in compliance with the license and another 24 that we're trying to bring into compliance.
And then does your technology scan for, what do we have, a 2-day minimum for our policy? Does your technology scan for that as you're looking through these rentals to make sure they're in compliance with that?
Yeah, so we do. So what we do is for every day in the major platforms, we're able to determine what the minimum night stay is. And we use this to pay attention to minimums and also to separate what a long-term rental and a short-term rental is. And so the same tech that allows us to identify the nuance between the two is the same one that allows us to validate for that.
Yeah. And I apologize if you said that in the previous statement.
No.
So,
there's more that we do than I can fit into 4 minutes.
I understand. I just, and so changeover is not just people going off the market. It could be a new operator. It could be just seasonality. So is that being taken into account? Do they have to re-register under this if they're seasonal, or do they maintain that status?
So I believe the licensing requirement here is per owner of the property that gets the license. It's non-transferable typically, meaning that if the property's sold with a new owner, that new owner would need to get a license even if there was currently one on the prior property. Having said that, though, as long as the owner has a license, they typically can shut their ad down in Airbnb, not take a booking. The one thing that is typical, and it is enforced here to my knowledge, is you still require the TOT form submission every period to make sure they weren't taking a few bookings and just forgetting to tell the city that those bookings occurred. And so if you're going to have that license to do business, completeness on TOT filings, even if it's a $0 filing, is critical and important.
Awesome. And this is my last question. SB 346, I see that it has a lot of more identifying information, a lot more reporting. I actually met with Airbnb. I didn't meet with them. I met them and just had subsequent conversations. And they had told me that they will provide the list of listings to any city that requests it. And so I'm wondering if we've gone down that route. And I'm sure they're oversimplifying what they actually do. But have we just requested the list of who is actively advertising in the city of Vista?
So Airbnb, as they rebutted SB 346, will claim that the privacy rights of the business operators on their platform make it so that they not only will not, but cannot share that information with cities like this. And if you read the rebuttal to 346, which Airbnb wrote and Expedia Group with their VRBO platform signed on to, they very much say that this is something that they will take to court, and I expect a legal challenge, as they have done in other states and are currently underway. In New York, who passed a bill a year ago, Airbnb has expressed their refusal to comply in that state and has basically said, sue us. So I expect that this bill is interesting and that we will see it play out, probably in court, long before we see compliance by the operators.
Yeah, I find great irony in that because they were very adamant about how easy it is just to get their client list to be distributed to cities so that they don't have anybody who's registered on their website but not providing TOT. Those are all my questions and comments. I really do appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you again for all the work that's gone into this. I know it's not just this one report. It's been a long time coming. So really appreciate all the work of staff, and you are right, they are the best in the state of California.
Awesome. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this presentation and update. I see some neighbors also joining us in the chambers, and thank you for your attention to this. A couple years ago, we were able to bring this forward, and we had really been looking forward to updates. I know we had monitored this for a while. We've made some improvements as we've gone along, and I think that these regulations are working exactly how we had hoped them to. In just a few short years, we've been able to bring in over $600,000, and that number is only going to go up, especially with more enforcement, and of course, with the reality that we live in the most beautiful place in the world, right? Everybody wants to come here to San Diego, North County, to travel, enjoy, escape, and explore all the beautiful things that we have to offer in our region. And so I would expect that we have increases to our total number of short-term rentals as the years go on. But one of the concerns that I have is enforcement. And with these revenues coming in, of course, they are highly valuable to the city. We have fiscal obligations, and we have programs and services that we need to maintain. And so, of course, this revenue source is of value to us. But I would definitely advocate that these funds that are enforcing this particular area of the city, that we can enhance enforcement so that we could potentially even benefit from more revenues that are not being claimed at this time. So I think I would pass that over to our city manager or any of our other city staff on the question of enforcement. What's our opportunity here with the revenues that we have coming in from TOT with these short-term rental regulations? Do you see that there's a need for increased enforcement, increased staffing in our various departments, or are we able to get the job done with what we have?
Well, I could certainly refer that question to Code and Josh if he wants to come down, but my feeling is that at this point we haven't had significant trouble with STRs that would mandate us hiring additional staff, but I'll let Josh speak to that too.
Absolutely. Y'all are on the ground doing this enforcement. What would you say, how's that experience been for you?
So a lot of complaints that kind of come in that have been a little bit difficult have occurred primarily like on nights and weekends. And so a lot of those times we don't have the gap to fill it. We don't have the staff to fill in those gaps. So previously when these type of complaints would come in, we would offer, Clarence and I would offer our phone numbers directly to kind of respond and to see what's going out when the complaints come in. More recently, we've had some staff changes happen, and now we have a Code 2 enforcement officer who will start working nights and weekends starting next week. And then I believe on the 29th, we have another code officer who's going to be working also nights and weekends starting this month on the 29th.
Well, those are really exciting staff updates. There's so many reasons why we want late night code enforcement beyond just the short-term rentals and the party houses and the issues that we experience. There's also other code violations that are occurring at night where we want to be able to document those violations so that we can correct those going forward. So I am glad to hear that we have some staffing improvements. And I would just advocate to my council as we are implementing those staffing changes to make sure that we have sustainable revenue sources so that we can continue to provide those services, because I can imagine that once we're starting next week and the week after that, those are going to be very busy members of our team. So thank you for giving those updates and for leading on this. And I don't have any further questions. I just appreciate this update, and I'm very excited that these regulations are working the way that we had intended them to. Thank you.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I really want to commend Deputy Mayor Melendez for really pushing on this and bringing this forward to the council so that we could have those robust discussions. And I am very thankful to staff for ensuring that the council's vision of what this program could look like, that you've actually brought that to fruition. And we're seeing, cost recovery in, on the code enforcement side, this is something that, I've been talking about for a long time, and that we need to expand our code enforcement because folks know at a certain time, on a certain day, there's no code out there. And so I'm really glad that we're also bringing that to fruition, because this is, the council itself has talked about this for a long time. I am curious about the cost of our new addition for code enforcement. Do you have a ballpark figure of that cost?
So you mean for the nighttime activities?
Correct.
Yeah, so we haven't incurred additional costs for that. We've just shifted staff around. So as positions were vacated when we brought new people on, we tried to get them to assume different hours so that we could cover those gaps. So we've done it with existing staffing as people have left and those jobs have been refilled.
Okay, yeah, that's a great practice. I would be curious to just potentially get some more granular information on the number of complaints we have and how long it takes for us to be able to, in particular, for the short-term rentals. In general, I would want to know that too, but I know it takes time to get all this information. So the general complaints and how long it takes for us to address them, I'd like to know that. But in the short term, I would really want to focus that on complaints for short-term rentals, and just to see, because I would anticipate that. I hear a lot from my community about different code issues, and I do anticipate that we could potentially need to hire, at least one more code enforcement officer. So, but other than that, I'm really pleased to see how this program is working, and it's a huge amount of funding that we didn't have before. And so I'm just thinking about all those years, that we lost out on that. So I'm glad that we did it. And thank you for the updates. I look forward to hearing more. And that's all for me at this time.
Okay. Are we cash positive yet with our TOT above what we paying our consulting team and other costs? That's good news. All right, that's happiness. Good. Keep up the good work. Find the tax cheats and get that money in. And you ask a good question, Councilmember O'Donnell. The way it works is if we assign it and it goes on the tax rolls, the county is kind enough to pay us immediately, and then they wait to get paid, and could be as long as until the house gets sold. So basically, the county is kind enough to front the money to us. So we have a great mechanism of getting paid. Okay, with that, thank you very much for the great presentation and the good work. And we're going to go on to item D4, our final discussion regarding what should be a competition amongst Vista artists for a logo. At least that's going to be my suggestion. I'm not in love. Are you the artist? Yes, sir. Oh, okay, all right. I'm sure you have other concepts. I didn't get to see any of them. Imelda Huerta will introduce the item along with Fred Tracy.
Yes.
If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, They may indicate so by using the raise your hand feature, pressing *9, or submitting a request to speak card here at the dais. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Forgot to get that in there.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Imelda Huerta, Assistant City Manager, and tonight our Communications Officer Fred Tracy and I will be providing a report on the city's logo redesign and branding efforts. As a background, the City of Vista's current logo was last updated in 2004 and has represented the community for over 20 years. As the city has grown and evolved, so too has the need for a refreshed visual identity that reflects Vista's modern character, values, and aspirations. The City of Vista's current logo has served the community well. However, shifts in community identity, design trends, and communication platforms present a compelling opportunity for a modernized visual identity. Key considerations for updating the logo include reflecting Vista's evolving identity and values. Vista has undergone significant growth and transformation over the past 2 decades. A refreshed logo can better reflect who we are today and where we are heading as a community. Additionally, this update can encapsulate changes portraying a modern and accurate representation of our city's identity. This ensures that our visual symbols align with the community's current values and vision for the future. Also, enhancing public engagement and civic pride. A thoughtfully redesigned logo can serve as a powerful tool for public outreach. It can help shift outdated perceptions and highlight Vista's unique attributes, fostering a sense of pride among residents. A cohesive and contemporary visual identity can unify various city initiatives and communications, making them more effective and engaging. Optimizing for digital and print usability. The design landscape has evolved with the advent of digital media. Our current logo may not be optimized for various applications, from social media profiles to mobile platforms. A redesigned logo can ensure versatility and clarity across all mediums, enhancing our communication efforts and maintaining consistency in our branding. Additionally, demonstrating innovation and relevance. Updating our logo signals that Vista is a forward-thinking and dynamic community. It shows that we value innovation and are responsive to changing times. A visual refresh signals that Vista is a forward-thinking, dynamic city, attractive to residents, businesses, and visitors alike. In regards to the current project development, in February 2024, the city issued a design informal request for proposals, which was distributed to Vista-based graphic designers. 3 proposals were received, and a committee of city staff from multiple departments interviewed the designers. Based on experience, qualifications, and proposal details, the committee selected Jamie Muehlhausen, a Vista-based designer with credits including graphic design work for national brands such as Tony Hawk, Vans, ESPN, Surfer Magazine, and many more. The original scope of work included 2 phases, with a total project cost of $42,000. Phase 1 has a total cost of $35,000, which includes 3 logo design concepts narrowed to 1 primary logo with multiple alternative versions for a variety of uses. Development of 25 sub-logos for use by city departments, divisions, and programs. Development of a color palette. Development of a comprehensive style guide, including font recommendations. Development of a city business card template, and design of City of Vista employee badges. Phase 2 has a total cost of $7,000 and includes design of City of Vista apparel and merchandise design, design of light pole banners, design of a logo version for the city entryway monuments, design of City of Vista PowerPoint templates, and City of Vista Zoom backgrounds. There were also community surveys that were provided, and Fred Tracy will provide information on those.
Thank you, Imelda. The committee began working with Mr. Muehlhausen in the spring of 2024 on the first part of this project, which focused on the development of a new city logo. As part of the process, staff conducted community outreach to gather input. 101 responses were gathered for the Brand Noun Survey, which highlights keywords such as community, hills, sunshine, trees, parks, weather, views, etc. 104 responses were collected for the brand color survey, in which the majority of respondents chose green, blue, yellow colors with orange and red closely behind. Surveys were promoted via the Vista News Center e-blast, city social media channels, and through invitations to city commission members and past Leadership Academy participants. Based on feedback received and the graphic designer's aesthetic, a draft logo was created along with a number of other graphic assets as part of a proposed branding package. A total of $26,398 has been expended to date and was part of the fiscal year 2023-24 operating budget. The logo and branding project has not been completed due to pending City Council discussions. If approved, the branding package with Mr. Muehlhausen includes a comprehensive branding package: city logo, banners, business cards, badges, PowerPoint presentations, and sub-logos for city departments and divisions. Here are some concepts for street banners designed by Mr. Muehlhausen, as well as examples of secondary logos. These are concepts for monument signage, vehicle logos, and other signage.
Tonight's staff are requesting direction from City Council regarding the next steps in the city logo and branding efforts. Council may consider the following options. Direct city staff to organize and conduct a citywide logo design competition open to the public. The public would be invited to vote on submissions via the city's website, and the winning design would be forwarded to the City Council for final approval. Or another option could be direct city staff to issue a request for proposals for a complete branding package outlined at the beginning of this report. Under this proposal, designers would submit no more than 3 logo draft designs, and the public would ask for their preferred version via online voting on the city's website. Another option would be to direct city staff to continue working with Mr. Jamie Muehlhausen to complete the initial brand project. Staff would negotiate with the vendor on the final pricing that does not exceed the balance of the project, which is $15,601.88. And of course, the city could recommend a different option. This recommendation does not have a direct fiscal impact. Should the City Council provide direction to proceed with option 3, which is to move forward with Mr. Muehlhausen, staff will allocate resources from the Communication Division's existing budget for the current fiscal year. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available to answer any questions. Additionally, the selected graphic designer is here to answer any questions as well.
I'm going to start this time. I just don't know about this combination of colors. Did you put them together because that's what came out of the word cloud? Or did you? Yeah, please.
Well, not 100%, but yes, we did take that into consideration, that was the consensus among people that responded to the survey. And then we went through, I would say, hundreds of designs and narrowed things down through different layers and meetings and staff and John. Hi, John. And we narrowed down to that from a whole bunch of different designs. So.
Was this your favorite design?
It was in the end, yes.
In the end, yeah. I like the way you put that.
Well,
that's very diplomatic.
Designer, you kind of go through a love and hate with design as you go through.
Listen, Fred, why am I not looking at the 100 designs that you got to look at?
That's still a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I want to play along too.
Yeah.
I was so struck when I saw Imelda with this nice pin. Thank you for making sure we all got. I thought, but that could be the next logo for the city of Vista. That's great. And it now is iconic in our city and harkens back to something recognizable. I mean, I'd probably would go with that before. I mean, I don't like the font necessarily. It's just, this doesn't have much, I don't know. It just doesn't have much going on. I can't read the California. It's too light and too little contrast with Vista. I'd like to see that a little bit better. I'd like to stand out.
Yeah, there are multiple versions of the logo that work in different instances. This particular one got used for this presentation. If you take a look through the entire presentation of the logos, you can see different versions for different color backgrounds, things that work. It's a very large logo system, which is, it's not just one logo that somebody would pay $100 for or something like that. It's an entire system that represents an entire city. You had mentioned maybe having a contest or something like that. In essence, in the beginning of this, from what I understand, this was put out to local graphic designers. And I was one of many who submitted, a proposal. So of qualified designers, that's how I ended up here. As far as, if the city here in the Civic Center had a plumbing problem and it needed fixing, you wouldn't have a contest on Instagram to get suggestions for, who could fix the plumbing problem outside of plumbers in town. You would call somebody that's qualified. I'm pretty qualified to do graphic design and brand management. And so and I live here. Like you, I chose Vista. I love Vista. I do a lot here in the community.
I appreciate that. And I'm not denigrating your work at all.
Sure, no, I understand.
But I can see the committee work in your design. I can see that a lot of I'm not an artist, but I would rather have artists submit their vision than to ever design anything by committee, because in my opinion, those things designed by committee, well, I'm going to withhold my comments.
Sure.
But
I think any design ends up being a committee in some ways.
Yeah, I know it does, but I would love to see and I just submit that if we was to put $42,000 out as the prize, we'd have us a whole bunch of submissions. So let's hear from the rest of the council. Councilmember Fox.
Perfect, thank you. As I'm sure a lot of the members on this council are probably really sick of hearing by now, my day job is I run a marketing video production company.
Sure.
We do a lot of logo design, and I actually had this RFP on my desk and almost made a proposal for it, which actually in retrospect was really lucky I didn't, because I would have disqualified myself for it by running for city council. So that would have been really funny to abandon the job halfway through it. But I can say, as someone who does this for a living, these are very professional designs. There's a lot of thought that goes behind them. Like you said, it's a whole system. This isn't something that was not thought about and not something that didn't go through iterations and ideations of how can this be shown in different formats, things like putting it on the sign, the monument signs, those kinds of things were, that's a very different logo, and the idea where that on the business card was just the mountains, that's very, so those are kinds of things where these elements are detachable and usable in different circumstances. So I do know how much work that takes, which is cool.
Thank you.
I'm not opposed to the idea that the difference between, us as a client and most normal clients is we have a bunch of 100,000 voters that, get to, this isn't just our logo, it's their logo. And so that kind of puts us in a weird situation here where, what's the idea of bringing them in and having them do some of that idea, those word clouds at the beginning and some of that research phase. So, I'm not opposed to the idea of having some sort of competition, because at the end of it, we're still going to need someone to take those ideas and actually turn them into ideations and real designs, because most kind of, community logos we get are going to be not usable. They're not going to be in their final form, and so just like, the colors and some of those things, came from community input, some of those elements and seeing what they come up with some interesting ideas and incorporating them in fun ways would be something that I would be open to. And again, we'll still need the rest of phase 1 and all of phase 2, because we're not going to, have all of those be community processes. That does
Sure.
not make a whole lot of sense. Is that something, I noticed like in the contract, it's, 3 or more logo design concepts. Now I'm hearing that there were a bunch up front, so
Well, I
probably
always
covered.
like to provide a lot. I mean, the requirement was 3. I kind of go through a lot of design stages when I start something. I've designed a lot of famous logos that your children have worn, and maybe you have worn, in fact. Things like that, and it never starts off with just 3 ideas.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we were referring to in that instance. But,
And typically that's how I like to work
but
as
it
well.
certainly kind of came down to 3 that we then kind of developed from that point forward, sure.
And my question of that was because, just for contractual purposes, like if we do get some interesting ideas from the community where we can incorporate them into a final logo, whether that would be covered in here, but it sounds like that was already done. And so that would probably fall into any extra edits after this.
Yes, I would consider that to be starting over.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So, is that something that you're open to, is working with, having something like a competition and having some ideas come in and then having us do a big committee up here with coming up with ideas and things like, hey, can we integrate this? Because there's things like that, and coming up with some iterations in that direction.
It would be something I'd have to consider.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's artwork, and I mean,
definitely not copy paste. Just
no, I understand. Yeah, I mean, from a financial standpoint, we would be starting over, and I would be doing all of that work again. And there's another $42,000. So I would, as a citizen of Vista, say, let's don't do that.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying. It's something I would consider. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see. And I would say that if we do some sort of competition, I would want to direct city staff to only show us the good ones, maybe nothing with obscenities or anything that don't bring, we don't have to bring them all back. Just
We would definitely provide parameters.
because I know what, and I know how people go, how people act. So, I think that's all I'll say for now. I mean, I think this is very well done. I mean, again, the iterations and going forward, again, logos, colors, all that stuff is stuff to iterate. I don't see that being different in this case. It's really easy to take this and be like, hey, can we work on the font with you or something like that? And I think that's you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater on it, but those are all very typical. I don't think I've ever had a logo design where I just like, here it is, and they're like, great, that's it. So, it's always like, I like the colors from option 3 and the font from option 4, and can we do something like that? So
We might have done some of that.
yeah, I have a feeling that some of this is done. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that for now and let the rest of the council talk, and hopefully they'll cover all the rest, and I don't have to speak again.
We had a competition to name Palo Vista Park, and we got some great suggestions. The top of one was Parky McParkface.
You do talk about regretting paying for that survey.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mulhausen, for being here. Thank you, staff, for presenting this information. I have a little bit of a different approach. I heard the presentation. There was a request for proposals. We went through a formal competitive process to solicit artists in our community, and Mr. Mulhausen was chosen in that process by a committee. Tell me a little bit more about this committee.
It was comprised of a few city staff members, representatives from the communications division. We had representatives from Recreation and Community Services, and from Vista Fire Rescue, as well as Economic Development.
Okay, so I think that that's quite representative of our city, including staff who connect with members of the public on the ground, right? Our staff is very active. They're not just sitting in their offices all day not engaging with the public. So the committee you're describing is, many of them live in the city of Vista. They're very engaged. The part of the process that I'm not satisfied with is how Mr. Mulhausen has been treated in this process to not get a full completion of the contract and the work. Seeing as how the council is only being able to view this art as a full body for the first time now, that's quite disappointing. And I would hate for any minority of the council to determine what our procedures are. And it's important for me that we respect artists and we're paying for art that is completed. And not only that, we're respecting artists and we're paying for their work, but also at this time, my understanding is that we're not allowed to use this work.
Correct.
Okay. But I did connect with Jamie and I did actually buy some of his artwork and I have it here. And it's a really sweet hoodie with the logo. I'm going to put it on. I'll be a model for you. It's a nice, oversized, very comfy, cozy. Did you pay her for this? No. I paid him for this, okay?
This was purchased at the ilovevista.com website. I love Vista, and I'm always doing little things. I make no money off of that website.
No.
But I want good
This is
things for our
passion.
city, and that is one of the designs that we have there.
So I don't know about you. I think this is pretty sick. I really like it. I think that this logo has a lot of applications. Obviously, Jamie, as an artist, he owns his work and he's able to put it out into the public. But the city of Vista, we cannot use this logo right now because the way we've gone about it has, honestly, it's disenfranchised an artist. So I am not interested in, soliciting from artists once again. We went through a process to do that, and it was within our city staff and our city manager's authority to go through this process. City attorney, am I correct in that? Did the city manager's office step out of line in issuing an RFP for artists and going about a rebranding in this way?
No. I mean, the RFP was issued with the parameters, and I think it was perfectly proper.
Okay, so we have given our city manager and our staff the authority to go through a process to make these types of updates. And I'm really glad you did, because our logo has not been updated since 2004. Y'all, it's time. It is time to upgrade and modernize. And I don't know if this is the final version. Everybody has an opinion, okay? But not everybody's an artist, but everybody has an opinion. And my artistic opinion is that I think this logo, the color scheme, is a little too coastal for Vista. I would like to see a little bit more of that industrious, rusty color in the logo. That's my personal opinion, because some of the red and the orange that's coming through, I think that that's quite representative of our agricultural roots and that earthy, industrious vibe that Vista gives out, right? Can we all see that being communicated through the logo? So there's something really special being communicated through this logo. And I would like for the city of Vista to at least have the opportunity to use this art. And we haven't been able to do that. I think we flubbed the process, and we have in some ways disenfranchised an artist. And I think that that's quite disappointing. In terms of, what did you refer to it as, Mr. Mulhausen? Entire kind of like applications, right? That there's multiple applications of.
Sure, it's an entire branding system for
Yeah,
the
system.
city. And, for something large like this with an entire city, there's, hundreds of applications to how something's used. And the way that I approach stuff like this is that, I like to make a logo that's versatile, that can be, I think you mentioned, pulled apart and the elements used in different ways that work within a system. And, just the logo that's currently on the top of the PowerPoint there, that's one version of that logo. There are others that are used on other things. So,
Right.
We've kind of approached it in that way.
So
And,
I completely appreciate that. We would love to probably see a more updated system, a system that has more applications in digital media, right, in our graphic design that we're putting out in our communications team, on our social media. And our current logo doesn't have as many system applications, right? Something like this, you can parse out, you can use the waves in the graphics, you can use the mountains and the sun and some of the fonts and the textures. So I think as an artist, ultimately, we were able to work with Mr. Mulhausen, and that was potentially, something that I don't think a lot of people would have expected, right? That a very well-rounded and renowned artist in our area had updated our city logo, and none of us knew about that. And I didn't know about this until very recently, and I requested for us to have a public discussion because the community deserves to see this art, and the community deserves to understand that we can't currently use this art for them. So I would like for us to remedy that in some way. And one of the ways I would like to move forward is we've, as a council, had some previous discussions about some of our neighborhood identifying elements, our wayfinding, our kind of aesthetic experiences and our branding experiences. That's not just a logo on a business card, but how people are able to engage in different parts of our city. And so this is more than just a logo update, and this is more than just an opportunity for us to critique art up here. We now have the opportunity, now that we're having a public discussion, to bring in an artist for some of the many projects that we're hoping to accomplish, like I said, in regards to wayfinding and other types of city branding that require a little bit more art than what we currently have. I see some renderings here, Vista signs, right? Our logos on our vehicles. From a staff perspective, and maybe even from a city attorney and city manager's perspective, how does a logo differ from our city seal? Because I know our seal is on our trucks.
Our seal is used for any kind of official documentation, and we generally, use it for all of our resolutions, things like that. The logo is more used informally on identifying city signs, and it's more of a thematic thing that we use, around the city to identify. It's not as official seal like we use on official documents.
Okay, and so in regards to the wayfinding programs that I described before, do you see an updated logo being beneficial to those future discussions?
We would include a new logo on all of our wayfinding. Yeah, that would be part of the program.
Okay, so I think that's really appropriate timing for us to be having this conversation because we want to be making those updates. And why are we going to leave art behind that we could potentially be using? Maybe people disagree with me. Maybe people don't want to use this art. But I do think that we could have had a more respectful procedure for our artists here today. And I personally love art and have made it a commitment in my second term to really invest in the arts. And so I wanted to buy a really sweet t-shirt and sweatshirt and just make sure that, if it's not something that the city of Vista can use, I personally will be promoting this art and wearing it and enjoying it. So a lot of things to consider. Because we already had a formal competitive process, I'm not sure what type of competition my council would desire for us to have. Thanks.
Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mulhausen. We get a lot of complaints. I don't know if you all hear them about our city logo and some aspects of the logo, which I'm not even going to get into in this discussion. But I do think that there is space for a rebrand of where, Vista has grown up. We're continuing to move in, this direction of community and art and being a maker. I, for one, would like to actually own this art, since we already paid such a substantial amount and there's already funding in the budget to just finish this contract out. I think that's critically important. When it comes to competition, even with Paula Vista Park, Paula Vista Park ended up being the #1 name, right? And so I could see once we own this art, because I don't even think we could utilize this art in a competition right now because we don't own it. But once we own this, we could do that type of thing where this is the city's, version of an updated logo. And then we could open it up for additional folks, right? So we could do some kind of competition like that if that's the desire of the council, is to have a community competition. We could still do that, but I do think that we need to provide this as one of the options. And potentially, there's some aspects to this logo that maybe could be changed, whether it's the color scheme, but I just don't see why we can't do that, why we can't own the art completely, and then we could also put it as a competition and see what public feedback looks like. So outside of that, I think, I just think that we have an incredible artist that worked on this, and I just don't really want to see us lose out on the money that we've already spent. We have a highly qualified artist that designed this, who knows about brand awareness, and that brand, the different brands that Mr. Mulhausen has worked on are internationally recognized. That's something I would like my city to be internationally recognized. But I do definitely think that it's time for a reboot. There are considerations of like how much this would cost once we have a new logo to update everything. We haven't even approached any conversation on that because we're stuck on this step where we haven't completed this contract. So I would like us to complete this, own the work, and if the council so wishes, we could do a competition where this is one of the recommended logos. So that's all I have to say at this time.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Jamie, I'm going to say a lot of nice things, and I'm going to say a few things you might not want to hear. One, I can tell how much love and effort went into this, and so I just want to say thank you for that. I do not think that your design is a poor design. I'm going to be honest with you, though, this color scheme, and I cannot explain why, it gives me anxiety. Like, I look at it, and I just, and it's nothing to do with...
Sure.
I mean,
and easily changed.
Yeah, but it's to me, it's very busy, right? Even though it's simple, it seems busy. And so, like, the first time I saw this, it wasn't like an immediate, I'm in love with this right away, right? I actually would like to see your other work, just to see if there's something in there that we can either combine with this or figure out a way to work it and mesh it together, right? And I may be in the minority on this council when I'm talking about this. I think that there is an application even for this logo with this color scheme, and I think it's sitting right there. But we're not in the T-shirt business, we're not in the hat business. And so I don't know if it behooves us to purchase it, and I guess that's a further discussion we should have up here while we're here, because if we own it but don't use it for city property, what application do we intend to use it for, right? And that's a question I think needs to be answered, because I agree that we've gotten this far. You've invested all this time, all this money. We've done the same. What's the difference for us owning this versus not at this point? $15,601.88, and that's any wiggle room? Can we cut a deal?
Cap it at 15. But I still feel like there's room within that to finalize things and have input from everybody on what they think those final changes should be, because we didn't really finalize this. We got to a certain point and then we kind of halted things. And so there's still some room to take a look at what our final version should be. All of these mock-ups and stuff were done for a final presentation on kind of where we got to.
So I came in here tonight actually agreeing with the mayor on let's put it out to the public. Before I'm willing to do that, I would like to see the other designs. I would like to sit down with staff. I'd like the council to review them.
Sure.
I'd like to have the opportunity to see the work that's already been done before we I don't want to say waste time, but we could take those designs, and if we truly want to bring the public and involve them, we can have them vote on some of the other concepts that you came up with.
Sure.
You know, because I know you said there's what, like 100 of them or whatever it is?
Maybe not 100.
I know,
But
yeah.
yes, there's a lot.
But if there's more than 3.
And I do
you know.
definitely have like a little presentation for each one of the main things that we kind of focused in on. I would be absolutely more than happy to share with everybody.
The waves on here, what does that
Well, so everything on the logo kind of represents something. We kind of started at one point with the concept that Vista sits in the perfect spot. We're halfway between the mountains and the ocean. We're just a wonderful spot to be. And so we kind of ended with the mountains in the background because I know it from my house up here on Alta Vista. When I look out, I see the mountains in the background and can't quite see the ocean. But anyway, we're about halfway in between. And we sort of started off with some actual waves in the front, but kind of moved away from that because we don't actually have an ocean front here in Vista. So we kind of moved more to the fact that we used to be the avocado capital, we have agriculture. Each one of those waves represents one of the 4 districts. So there's 4 districts. There's the sunshine, we are the climatic wonderland, it was our old saying for the city of Vista, if anybody remembers. And so that was the way to incorporate all of those types of things into what Vista is in a very simple and modern, progressive, look that the city of Vista kind of deserves. With all due respect to 3rd graders, our old logo just looks like a 3rd grader had a crayon and kind of, made a couple of squiggly lines. And I think that logo served us well for a long time. But it's really time. I hear that from everybody I know in Vista that, why aren't you doing something? And I said, well, maybe we are, so.
I'll have you know that was done by a world-renowned artist. It was not.
was in 3rd grade.
It's the 3rd, yeah. So here's my thing. So this is what I'll say. I don't want to purchase this product yet, but I also am not willing to put it out to the public yet. I want to see what has been designed already.
Sure.
So I'm not going to support any motions to either complete the project or to put out a request to the public to give us new designs. Whether it's with staff or yourself, I'd like to sit down and review those with you and just have a larger in-depth conversation. Maybe we can find something else that's available. Again, like I can't explain what it is, but like, I don't know if it's a color scheme or if it just seems busy to me, but it's just, there's a lot going on, and that's the only way I can describe it is like I get anxiety, and I'm not someone that gets anxious. So I don't know, but I appreciate the work, and I don't want to bring somebody else in when you have dedicated so much time into this effort and with our staff. So that's where I'm at. I'll listen to if the council has any other comments on it, but any motion on the floor, I will either probably vote no or abstain. So.
Thank you. Understood.
Looks like we're all going to have a couple of rounds of comments here. I don't think I said anything to denigrate your work.
No, sir, you did not.
And unlike a plumber, there's only 1 or 2 good ways to fix any plumbing problem. I think you'll recognize an artist. There are literally 10,000 different designs for any logo.
Sure.
And not being a great artist myself, I'm with Councilmember O'Donnell. I can't tell you exactly what about this I'm not in love with. It definitely is the colors to begin with. I think that would be easily fixed.
Yes, sir.
Now, which one of the 4 council districts got the small sliver there? No, I'm kidding, because you said it represented I don't like anything representing.
I only know that you're 4, so I'm not sure.
As mayor, I don't like the idea that our 4 council members or 4 council districts are somehow, these are arbitrary lines that we were required to draw, and I don't like the idea of, that being an identity for parts of our. I mean, we have some different neighborhoods to be sure, but I don't like the idea. To me, that theme seems a little divisive, so I wouldn't want to put that into the official narrative of our city logo. I think we can work with some of this. I don't mind the mountains and the sun. I could almost hide the part underneath the word California and get a lot closer to liking it. It is something about the red and the yellow together. I'm not sure which one of them I would get rid of. I am not frustrated with you or your work. And no one's saying the city manager didn't have the authority to do it. However, this is the identity of the city. And it won't just be the 5 members of this council that will feel they weren't consulted. It will be every citizen. And I promise you, we're going to hear a lot. I have not, in 20 years, in all my time on this council, I have never heard anybody complain. Nobody's ever going, you know what, the logo of the city, I just don't like it. Nobody has. The only one that ever complained about it was Joe Green, who thought we should go back to the old Vista cursive logo, which I didn't disagree with. I love throwback. I'm all about it. But I'm an old soul. I don't like new stuff. I like old stuff. That's just me. So the idea of hearkening back to something that represented us in the 70s and 80s, I mean, to me, I didn't have a problem with it. And I kind of like that we acquire these logos throughout time. I love when the Padres bring back their stuff from the 70s. I mean, that's cool,
I designed a whole system for the Padres.
Wonderful. Well, and you know what? And I know the Padres use at least one of these colors, the yellow. I could get closer to it. Maybe we could adopt the Padres color scheme. It's probably trademarked. But, well, we heard earth and rust. That's a lot closer to the brown than.
Hey, I'm all for Padres. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I just, and like the park name competition, we ultimately did pick the original name, which was just, the name of the street it was on was Paula Vista, and we named it the Paula Vista Park, which is good because in Spanish it's Palm View, But so I'm not saying this wouldn't be really close to the final design. We might choose it, but I also don't see why, if we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars reordering every business card in the city, apparently every street sign, and we're going to, dear God, we're not going to paint all the trucks yellow, are we?
No.
Okay, please.
Quick mock-up.
Anxiety won't begin to describe it.
Good.
So, I just like the idea of involving the community, and I'm just telling you, if we'd have put out $40,000, you would have had a lot of designs. And there's this thing I've used before, 99 designs. You put up a $1,000 prize, and you get 35 artists that want to submit a design. If you would have, this has nothing to do with you. If the staff would have shown us all the different designs, and we'd have had some ownership and buy-in to picking this one, then we'd be all sitting here going, how great it is, right?
Right.
But we don't have any buy-in on this. We weren't part of how we're getting here.
Let's do that.
And absolutely. And ultimately, with all due respect to Mr. City Manager, these are the people here that get to make the decisions. But we've got bosses ourselves, and I just think the competition would include them. So I'm happy, Councilmember O'Donnell, to go down the road of last edits, or how do we get to something we might like better here. And even if we don't pick, even if this is what we pick, I still think it'd be great. Let the high school students design a logo. I think it'd be cool. Let them come here and, hey, we chose Mr. Muehlhausen's logo because it's still the best, but, let's give all of our artists an opportunity to get some recognition for what they could do, and maybe we'll find different applications for some of the things they come up with. I just think that would be nice to involve the community and get a lot of feedback. And I know we got 100 people and 3 members of the staff, which is certainly representative of all 100,000 people in Vista. But I think we could go out a little farther. So, Councilmember Fox.
Perfect. Well, now that you said it, I can't unsee the crayon. So thank you for that.
Could I add one last little tidbit?
Absolutely.
And it's just, you know, we keep throwing out that $40,000 number, and it's a fair amount of money. Most city design and branding projects start at about $80,000 to $100,000 and go up. The city of San Diego just recently spent well over $100,000, and I'm talking about just on the design part. And I understand there's a bigger expense with monument signs and other things that are going to have to take place. I get that. The city of Austin, Texas just spent $1.1 million rebranding. I came into this as a citizen of Vista and wanted to not rake anybody over the coals and do a great job still and provide world-class design for a project, and did it for half price, basically, of what it normally would start at. And so, so I just wanted to throw that out there, that I really do have the city's best interest at heart in this design process. And I understand that we might need to go through some more discovery here to get to the point where we talk about whether we're going to keep going or not. So
Yeah.
I appreciate all of your time.
And I will say that, you know, I don't actually scoff at the price on that one. I know how much logo designs cost, and that is, you know, I've heard of plenty of corporate logos that, you know, add a couple zeros pretty easily to this. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so that was funny. The crayon thing, I'm never going to unsee it now. So, but, you know, actually, I actually really like what Councilmember O'Donnell said with seeing some of those other designs. And, you know, maybe there is, because again, I think it could just be something where some color and font tweaks and we're there. You know what I mean? And that's stuff that's very typical in a process like this. So,
Absolutely.
And so just being able to see kind of the other color scheme, like palettes and, you know, some other maybe font designs that you had on some other ones, be like, hey, can we see what this looks like with this, you know, and those kinds of things. I would love to be part of that as well. Because again, I actually, in places like, you know, the top, I guess it's the top left banner where you have, you know, without it being in a circle and stuff, I actually start liking it even, like I actually really like how that kind of turned out. There are certain places, like in certain applications, where I'm like, yeah, that's perfect, and so that means it's close, you know.
Thank you. Yes.
And so, and I think it would be the only reason I kind of thought it would be reasonable to open it up to, you know, something like a competition originally would be to get that public buy-in, because I know that whatever we pick, we're going to get people are going to hate us for it, because that's just the nature of this. No one's going to be happy with what we do
in this
here.
day and age with Facebook and everything and Instagram, you're going to get negative comments about
That's just
things.
how it goes.
And you have to just decide this is what we chose and we like it, and this is what we're going to sell
Yep.
to the people.
And so creating that buy-in is like exactly the thing. And I think that's actually, you know, process-wise, you know, getting some council buy-in, you know, might actually be helpful towards that. So getting some feedback and working with us on it a little bit, I think will create a lot more buy-in on this council, and then we'll be able to pitch it to our constituents and give them the reason why we liked it with full confidence, and take all that negative feedback that we get and and be able to stand up for it. So no, actually, I'm on board with Councilmember O'Donnell on this one, and I'd love to talk as soon as possible.
Sure, sounds great.
Cool, thank you.
Councilmember Contreras.
Okay, and I guess my question is, where we're at in the process now is, like, how many tweaks to the logo are budgeted with the funding that we've already provided? And I don't know who can answer that question, but that's just my concern, is like putting more work and not finalizing funding towards the completed work. So I don't know if you want to answer that, or
I'd be happy to
Sure.
weigh in on it at least. I don't know if you have some, but I look at this as I'm going to go back home and over the next few days put together a new little presentation for you based on some of the stuff that I've already done, which won't be that hard to put time into. But, you know, a few hours worth of time to make it for everybody, and then I'll send it your way and you can distribute it and everybody take a look. And if you'd like me to come over and sit down with everybody and talk through some things, I would enjoy that. And we could get some input from everybody on it and go from there. And that would be fine to just, let's go from there. And then if we
Okay.
want to take it to that next level, then we'll talk about approving the next round of funds and all that kind of stuff. But
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, and completely, I think, a gift to the city of Vista, because this is not, even a minor tweak is work. So, yeah, and I thank my council for having this discussion. I really want to see your work completed, because I think it's in a good spot. I think sometimes maybe like the red with the yellow might be causing some of the anxiety, because it's kind of like, I think it's just like naturally things that are like poisonous and whatnot. I think it's just like baked in our DNA somewhere. And so that might be where there's a little bit of anxiety, but yeah, there's like a little danger element. But I really like how bold the font is of Vista. I'm not necessarily like sure that I want the California on there. I love the mountain and the sun. I mean, I think that's a great redesign of what we have.
yeah, and I should add that it's a very good point that I kind of forgot, that there are elements of that logo that harken back to the old logo.
Yeah.
The mountains and the sun. Usually there's that little squiggly on there that's the sun. And so it really is kind of taking that old logo and moving it into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I see the refresh on there. But so I'm excited. I think there's probably consensus on this council to move forward with Councilmember O'Donnell's suggestion, which as a Leo, I'm sure that makes you very happy.
I'm so smart.
You did a good one. So, and then, yeah, I would love to see this project move through, go into the final phase, and then I am always totally open to have a competition and see what people say about the logo and see if other people have, different designs. I would suspect that we probably won't get a lot of competitive designs to this type of design, but you never know.
And you'll get a lot of AI designs, which you can't own or trademark.
Right.
If you have a logo that's designed in AI, you can't own it. It's all derivative of other things. It's one of the problems with AI. So I don't like AI either. We're both old school. Anyway,
and that's something actually really
that's something to
important.
consider, though, because you will get those types of submissions that somebody puts in. So.
Right, and that's where, this is a competition that would have to have certain parameters, because you've been able to compile, like, it's kind of like you have to do a whole pamphlet as part of like this design competition, because there's so many different aspects and, like you said, right, different ways to utilize the different elements. So I would imagine that a competition is going to be very difficult, but if the council wants to do that, we totally can. I just think we should put forward a professional design that we know was created with a human brain, and that we can finally own the work. So whatever it takes for us to get into that direction where we can own the work, we get feedback from the community, and we can move forward with how we're going to utilize this, then I'm totally good with that. So, but thank you so much for lending some additional time and effort to this creative process.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Yeah, my only other question was, once this whole process is complete, say we go back and we look at all the other designs you've done, are we purchasing the entire book of designs, or are we getting just the final completed
You're
product?
getting the final design that we all decide on is the logo for the city. You wouldn't own all the, 47 that we reject. Those would still be my property, because you're not going to use them anyway, so.
You don't know that.
You could buy the bigger package.
No, okay, so.
But the package that we're talking about includes logos for different departments, for, the Paseo District, the downtown. There's a lot of logos involved here that are, I think we counted up at least 27 versions. And that's not even including just alternate versions of the main logo. So there's a lot of work to be done there. And one of the systems that I'll show you has a whole lot of those types of options in it. And I think you might like that one as well, so.
I'm not going to delay this conversation any longer because I feel like this is something that needs to be taken offline to actually have this discussion. I just want to say thank you for all the work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you to
I
staff
appreciate
as
it.
well going through this whole process. I look forward to meeting with you individually as well as staff and just kind of going over this stuff. And until that time, good work.
Thank you.
Just not quite there yet.
Yep. Sounds perfect.
Thank you, and thanks for the discussion. Yeah, for me, it was really important for the public to at least have eyes on this art because they weren't able to access it. And so I just want to say I'm 110% behind our staff and their procedure in this, except for the point in which there was a stop, right? And we did not move forward with showing the entire council, right? At that point, I was disappointed, but that's where, you know, seeing that happen, I wanted to bring it back to a public discussion. And I'm open to seeing the other designs and seeing if there's maybe a merging of different elements that can be more satisfactory to the majority of the council. But I really do stand behind our artists that we have in front of us today. I agree with some of the comments that it is going to be an extremely challenging competition for our community, but we can challenge them, right? We can say, here is an artist, Jamie Mulhausen, here in the city of Vista. He's got such a great repertoire. And he is being the model. He is setting the standard for the type of modern design and logo that the city of Vista needs to move forward past 2026 and beyond. And we can put it to the community and say, what do you got, right? Let's all chip in and see if there's something here that we can identify with. So I think that is a good middle ground. Being able to see some of those other elements, I'm open to that as well. But I think that what's more important is that we're having a public discussion about it. And so thank you for your persistence, staff, to bring this to us. And, you know, art lives on. And so we got to see that here tonight, and I really appreciate it.
And I'll just close by saying I do appreciate your efforts. And, you know, I like Van Gogh better than Picasso. Doesn't mean that Picasso wasn't talented, and it doesn't mean I don't like any of his stuff. It's just, you know, and I don't know that this is necessarily emblematic of all of your work, because I imagine there's a lot of differences between the logos you've designed for different agencies. So, yeah, I don't think we're really that far off something that we could use, but I just, the biggest thing I can't get around is like, I want to look at 100 logos. I want to look at 100 designs, and I want to go, well, it wouldn't take that long. I just cross off 90 of them, and I go, I like these 10, you know? And I think if we'd all come back together and said, here's the ones that got the most, you know, got the most likes from the council, and, you know, I'll bet you there would have been some ones that we would have gravitated towards and would have had more check marks than others. And the ones that didn't get any check marks of like, we would have said, we're not going to consider those. And then we would have all come back together. We would have heard from the community, and we would have all, you know, it's like you had to present options because, you know, people, it's a natural part of selecting things. You can't have one color of a car on a car lot. People are going to come in, and it doesn't matter if that was the color they wanted or not. They want options to decline, and you have given us no options. This is not you. The staff has given us no options to decline. So that's where we're at. We'd like to see some of the options, so maybe we could be part of the choosing. Thank you.
We'll do that.
Appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We didn't have any more oral communications, so we're closing the opportunity for oral communications. That's going to bring us to the end of our agenda, and we'll go to our staff for comments. So any comments from the city clerk's office tonight? No. Mr. City Attorney? Mr. City Managers? Nothing. Councilmember Fox?
All right. Well, thank you everyone for, it's before 10 p.m. I'm so proud of us. Updates for me, I attended Cal Cities with Councilmember O'Donnell. So that was my first conference as a council member, and I got to learn a lot of amazing things. Took a lot of workshops, and went to some very cool events. And so I think it was a very valuable experience, and some of that I've already brought back and am trying to figure out how to implement some of that stuff in our city and use it for good. And other than that, it's Taco Tuesday. So get some tacos. I mean, they're probably still cheap, still $1 tacos in a lot of places right now. So, and then lastly, I love my wife, Mina, and I thank her for letting me serve on this council. That's it.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
I also enjoyed Cal Cities. Got to go to a few different workshops, but just the greatest thing I take out of it is being able to network with all of the communities and leaders and staff from throughout the state that share similar issues to what we have here in our city. So that was very good. I want to remind the public that I have a town hall on November 9th right here in the Morris Vance Community Room from 12 to 2 p.m. Myself, Captain Malin, City Manager Conley, City Attorney Walter Chung, we'll be discussing community safety and due process, so please show up. I've read all your comments and emails and everything else. I've seen the videos. It's time to get off the keyboard and have a community conversation, look each other eye to eye, and discuss this issue. So please join me for that. Again, it is November 9th from 12 to 2 p.m. Outside of that, congratulations to the RBV Band and Color Guard for winning 4 of the major categories at the Vista Invitational Field Tournament. Myself and Councilmember Fox were there to present the trophies, and that was a lot of fun. And then to my wife, Allie, who I know is at home watching because she thinks that I'll be home in time, and I should be before she goes to bed. I love her very much. I love our boys. Thank you for letting me serve in this capacity, and I think this was the most cordial meeting we've had in about the last 4 meetings. So thank you to my colleagues for a wonderful discussion this evening.
Councilmember Contreras.
All right. What I'll say is that on the NCTD front, our microtransit is doing really, really well. Really well. And so if you see it going around, it's making like 2,000 trips right now. And it continues to grow. Also, as we honored Guerreras en Acción por un Vista Limpio on their 6th year of doing weekly Wednesday trash pickups, tomorrow they are doing another one, so you can always join them. You can connect with founder and team captain Jovita Serafin. You can find them on Instagram at Guerreras en Acción por un Vista Limpio. And also, I'm going to be conducting a community meeting regarding the Circle and East Orange and some traffic calming and some safety measures. That's going to be happening. I'll be sending out some more information, but Community Housing Works on North Santa Fe they're opening up their building to the community, and it's going to be fantastic. So I'll see the community there on October 21st at 6 p.m. And other than that, I hope everybody has a good night.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
I was really excited when you talked about the NCTD Plus because I was visiting a friend actually in Councilmember Fox's district today off of where was I? But I was in like the rural area, Vista, and I saw the NCTD Plus van, and someone must have called a ride, and it was raining, and they like darted across the street, and it was safe because we had put speed humps there. And so everything was coming together and working together for people to be able to access their ride, and it just made me so happy to see the cheerful yellow and blue NCTD Plus van. It was so good to see that. So updates on my end. I really appreciate the discussion, everyone. In regards to obviously something that's very important to all of us, which is art, this Saturday is the 21st Annual Festival of the Arts with VAPA. That's a really awesome opportunity to see some student art, and we can celebrate them. So I hope to see you there from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. By the Sinopolis of downtown Vista. That's this Saturday. And then I just had a really lovely time last week with our seniors at our senior center. I got to recognize some folks who were turning 90 or who were over 90 years old, including one wonderful neighbor who was 100 years old. And it was just so amazing to see just so much wisdom and positivity from all the folks over at our senior center. So if you're a senior and you're watching, get on over to the senior center. And even if you're not a senior, go volunteer and go have an afternoon lunch with some folks at the senior center, because it really just is the best time there. So I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. And I want to also appreciate my colleagues for the respectful dialogue tonight. And in that vein, I want to say a word in closing our meeting tonight about Charlie Kirk, who would have been 32 years old today. He was a man who lived his life with conviction, with courage, somebody who never ran from a debate, but who was respectful and listened and engaged in questions and answers to bring people closer to understanding. So it was somebody who was murdered. Charlie Kirk was murdered for exercising his right to free speech, a violent act of silencing somebody and taking their rights. Nobody in our country should ever be threatened or harmed, and violence should never be used to stop people from speaking their mind. Charlie Kirk's courage reminded us that the First Amendment is a sacred inheritance from our founding fathers who risked everything so that every citizen could speak freely, worship freely, and live without fear of persecution. He used every breath of his short life to fight for liberty and defend the values that make our nation exceptional: faith, freedom, and family. He believed America is worth fighting for, and I do too. So tonight, I honor Charlie Kirk with my words and also, hopefully, my actions as we carry forward the spirit in which he lived, unafraid to speak the truth, willing to listen to and consider others' opinions, and always ready to defend the principles that make America the greatest nation on earth. May God bless Charlie Kirk and his wife and his children, and may God bless our country. And thank you to my wife for allowing me to serve, and to all of you in our community for giving me the honor of doing that. Good night, everyone.